ESPN presents Stanley Cup Hockey. Tonight from the Olympic Saddledome in Calgary, Alberta, Game 2 of the Campbell Conference Finals. The St. Louis Blues and the Calgary Flames. The Olympic Saddledome in Calgary, Alberta, just past 6 o'clock Mountain Daylight Time in Alberta, Canada. Outside, well, a very calm spring day, but inside you can believe that it is just basically do-or-die time for the Calgary Flames. Welcome once again to the National Hockey League on ESPN Stanley Cup playoff time, the road to the Cup. I'm Bob Lee, and we say do-or-die for the Flames, but this is a team that in that Calgary Saddledome has played only 500 playoff hockey on its home ice. On the road, the Flames have been tough. St. Louis the other evening with that victory. Mark Hunter and Mark Reeds with those late goals with a 3-2 win in Game 1. During the course of the regular season, the Blues had the better of the series. They won 2 of 3. Those first 2 games were in the arena at St. Louis, a split at the Saddledome. So that's how those teams match up. Whether it'll be tight checking tonight, we shall see. Jim Hewson is our host for tonight's game, and let's check in with him now in Calgary.
All right, thank you very much. These fans here have been on an emotional roller coaster for 2 weeks. What with the Battle of Alberta, and it's understandable that they might have been a little worn out after that series with the Edmonton Oilers. After all, they are arch rivals, and they had to cheer for 7 long games. So the players and the fans were a little tuckered out. And it showed in Game 1 here. The players looked like they were a little bit tired, and the Blues came out of here with a victory. But what the fans and the players have to guard against is being satisfied with what's been accomplished so far. It could be a long, depressing summer here if after beating the Edmonton Oilers, this team lost out to the St. Louis Blues. So we'll see if the Flames can regroup here tonight and tie this series up. This is the first time in the playoffs this year that the Calgary Flames have been behind in a playoff series. To that end, they've made some interesting lineup changes tonight. Look for Mike Eaves, who hasn't played all season, in fact went into retirement, to be back in the Flames lineup tonight. It's the Blues against the Flames, and we'll be back with the opening face-off on ESPN.
Stanley Cup Hockey on ESPN is being brought to you by Budweiser. Beechwood aged for that clean, crisp taste. This Bud's for you. By Plymouth, a division of Chrysler Corporation. Plymouth, the pride is back. Born in America, again. By Olympus, makers of fine 35mm cameras, including the OMPC with ESP. And by Honda. Power equipment, lawn mowers, lawn tractors, and portable generators made to last. Campbell Conference Finals Game 2. St. Louis with that victory on Game 1 with the late goals with about 5 minutes to go. 2 goals inside of 1 minute and 6 seconds. Now, last night in the Montreal-New York series, it was a most interesting turn of events in the second period. Guy Carbonneau had 2 goals, one of them shorthanded. That was the backbreaker with 17 seconds to go in period 2, so a 6-2 final score. And that is the margin, 2 games to none, that Montreal takes down to Madison Square Garden now. And it looks, you would have to think that the Canadians have the definite edge and look to be into the finals. But the Rangers, they have been behind against the Caps. That game coming your way tomorrow evening at 7:30 Eastern Time. Tom Eaves will be back to host that game. Now, let's check in at the Saddledome in Calgary. Bringing us tonight's game, Mike Lang and Bill Clement for a look at this Game 2.
Well, thank you very much, Bob Lee. And, of course, this is Game 2 of this conference championship in the Campbell Conference. The St. Louis Blues lead 1 game to none for the Calgary Flames to get back and even. What's it going to take, Bill Clement?
It's going to take a lot of things. They're going to have to play smarter, Mike, and as the game unfolds, we'll try and get a little more technical and explain just how they have to change from what they did the other night. The thing that interests me in this series is it's the confrontation of 2 best friends. Joey Mullen, who plays for Calgary, was traded here from St. Louis this year. He was Bernie Federko's roommate and his best friend. They were like Mutt and Jeff. They were inseparable. And so much so that Bernie Federko said when Joey Mullen was traded away, it was almost as if there was a death in the family. But as is the case when there is a death in the family, you have to continue living. And that's what both of them went on to do. But they're both key figures offensively for these respective teams. It'll be interesting to see how they match up against one another.
And the Blues tonight, of course, we expect them to use the same discipline style that they've employed in the playoffs so far, and in fact the whole year, into the direction of Jacques Demers. All right, we'll have this game for you from the Olympic Saddledome as the Blues meet the Flames. It's coming up next.
Calgary Flames will have that home crowd going behind them this evening. Back in 1981, they got within 2 games of getting all the way to the Stanley Cup Finals, but they lost out in that series. It's a different team here in 1986, certainly from 81. And in rebuilding the Atlanta, Calgary Flames. The Flames organization has gone heavily to the American collegiate ranks. Glance, if you will, at all these players that have come out of American collegiate ranks. Joel Otto at Bemidji State. Joey Mullen from Boston College. Steve Bozek, Northern Michigan. Colin Patterson played at Clarkson. Perry Berezin at North Dakota. Kerry Wilson in the Ivies at Dartmouth. Jamie McCown, Ohio State. Gary Suter of Wisconsin, back to the Ivies. Neil Sheehy. Terry Johnson from the Canadian ranks at University of Alberta. And even Mike Eaves, who has come out of retirement to dress for tonight's game, played at the University of Wisconsin. And, of course, head coach Bob Johnson was the head coach of the Badgers. So the American collegiate connection, certainly part of tonight's game. Flames down a game there at home. They've played only .500 hockey there. Mike Lang and Bill Clement have the game. Mike?
Thank you, Bob. And tonight the Flames are trying to even this series. You know, the Flames lost 2 games against the Oilers here in that set and won 3 on the road at the Northlands Coliseum to win the series. And, of course, you have to look at the possibility of them being a little flat, coming off such a high against the Oilers and winning that series.
Well, I think that's, you know, we talked about how the Flames didn't play very smart against the St. Louis Blues in Game 1, and one of the main factors of that was the letdown after facing Edmonton, and we'll try and explain what they have to do differently as this game unfolds.
Kerry Fraser, the referee, and the linesmen John D'Amico and Bob Hodges, and we're underway here in the Olympic Saddle Dome, and Doug Gilmour, St. Louis number 9, slides it into Calgary ice. Mark Reed's on right wing. He and Gino Cambellini, the 2 forwards out on either side of Doug Gilmour. Laid back to the Blues line, and this is Rob Ramage. Ramage gave it away to Al McGinnis. Flames defenseman flip it up in the air into the left wing corner. Ramage behind starting goaltender Rick Wamsley, who won the opener against the Flames on Friday night. And Mike Vernon in the net tonight for the Calgary Flames. He is 7-3 in playoff competition. A steal by John Tonelli. Tonelli winds up, but the whistle sounds. If we had a hand pass there or not, Kerry Fraser looking the scene over. We might have had a hand pass, Bill Clement.
It was up on the boards, I think, for a second, Mike, and it's obvious to me that the Flames are going to be content to face that man's team, Jacques Demers' team, very conservatively. They went in on that first rush. They dumped the puck in. Now, that was the biggest thing that they did not do in Game 1. They didn't get the St. Louis defense backing up, and they kept hitting time and time again that blue wall at the blue line. That time they sent it in, and the chase was one man. Lanny McDonald went in and chased. John Tonelli stood on the right wing by his check. Doug Risebrough stood on the left wing by his check. In hockey terms, we refer to that as one man in. It's a very conservative type of forechecking. And against St. Louis, which plays a very conservative style, it's apparent that Bob Johnson wants to match up that way against them.
Well, you're looking at the former Blue Joey Mullen, number 7, against Brian Sutter. The captain of the Blues has been since 1979. And the Flames going with a new line out here. They're guilty of an offside play. Joel Otto with Jim Peplinski and Joey Mullen. And Doug Gilmour now centering the unit that has Brian Sutter and Dave Barr. There's Bob Johnson, 4th year now with this club.
Yeah, he came the year that I left. I retired in 1982, and it was Bob Johnson's first year the following year. Brian Sutter's out there on left wing. Now, the Flames look as if they're making a line change, but Brian Sutter, when you get a look at number 11 for St. Louis, you can see that his shoulder pads might look a little bigger than other players. Well, he's suffered a number of shoulder injuries this year, first in January, then he re-injured it in March. He re-injured it in the first game against Minnesota. There's Mike Eaves making his first appearance of the year coming out of retirement. Very well-liked player by his teammates, and I'm sure he will be an inspirational lift for the Flames tonight.
Well, the University of Wisconsin product who played for Bob Johnson at Wisconsin. Gilmour slides it in. The Blues go to a quick change. So the matchup strategy going on here now between Bob Johnson, the Calgary coach, and Jacques Demers of the Blues. Håkan Lou back in behind the Blues net. Left to Parise. He's dumped. Centered in front, though, and Federico taps it ahead on left wing to Kevin LaValle. LaValle works it back to Jim Pavis. Up in the air to center, and Al McGinnis now drives it in. Rick Natras, along with Pavis, the 2 Blues defensemen. LaValle looking ahead for Federico. Mark Hunter, who had a big goal here on Friday night, leaves it in his own zone for Rick Natras. Blues in the traveling blue uniforms. Flames in the home white. And Pavis shoots it all the way there. Vernon has trouble with that one now. Gets it into the corner. Vernon almost lost possession of it. Federico, right point. Charlie Bourgeois, the former Flame. Back to Federico. Federico leaves it open, and it goes in behind the net. Federico too well covered by Al McGinnis to get to it. Jamie McCowan McCowan turn it over to Al McGinnis. Long, heavy shot, and Walmsley got the blocking glove on that to knock it into the boards. Kaplinski cruising in to put it in behind the net. The Blues lead the series 1-0. It's a best-of-7 battle. The conference championship here in the Campbell Conference. Out in front, and Lavallee just sweeps it up in the air, and down the ice it goes. Paul Reinhardt to retrieve it, and we have an icing call. Here at the Olympic Saddledome, the score, Calgary 0 and St. Louis 0.
It has the power to control light automatically like no other camera. The Olympus OMPC owned the first camera in the known universe with ESP.
It's official. The National Hockey League's official vitamin is Unicap, including Unicap M, the better balanced vitamin. That's Unicap vitamins.
Well, the Flames will put Dan Quinn at center with Barry Berezan and Colin Patterson. And Quinn getting a start again.
Yeah, he didn't play in game 1, and they are sitting out Nick Fotiu tonight, looking for a little more goal production against St. Louis. They really don't think they need the size and the toughness that they needed against Edmonton.
By the way, Tim Hunter, the man that led the club in the regular season in penalty minutes, is not playing, and of course Fotiu out of the lineup. And the puck turnover by the Blues again. The length of the ice, Reinhardt, and another icing call. It frustrates the fans. Here in Calgary, the Blues are playing that style, but
sure does.
You know, you go with what has brung you here, as they say.
And that man, Paul Reinhardt, is really going to have to shoulder a lot of the burden of not only one of his defense partners, Gary Suter, being out of the lineup, the gifted rookie for the Flames, but also Kerry Wilson. Now, with Quinn out of the lineup in game 1, there was Quinn, Suter, and Wilson. That meant 77 total goals, Mike Lang, that were not in the lineup for game 1. 31 power play goals. Their power play really was hurting in game 1, and it really looked as if it was because of Suter's absence and Kerry Wilson's.
This Calgary team, a club that was second only to the Oilers in goal production on the year in the regular season. 354 goals. The Oilers finished with 426. Ramage directs it around for Lee Norwood, who has played well in the playoffs. He is bumped heavily by Mullen, but the puck again turned over to center circle. Jamie McCowan. Al McGinnis slides it in, and Walmsley will come out and stop it. Williams Pepelinski coming in, a backhand attempt, and rolled off the edge of his stick. I don't know if Walmsley got a piece of it or not, but he just couldn't get good wood to it. Joey Mullen. And they tie it up in the corner, and Joel Otto, the 6'4" center iceman. Left point to McCowan, a slap shot that missed the mark. McGinnis can't hold it.
Mike, on that play when Poplinski walked in front of the net, he had Joel Otto wide open for a split second, and that's a perfect example of how quick things happen out there. He wasn't able to get the puck to him, and he was forced to carry it in front of himself. Had he been able to pass to Otto, Otto was in a prime position just to snap it at the goal.
This will be an offside call against the Calgary Flames, and Mighty McDonald coming off. Well, McDonald has had a strong playoff season so far.
He has a strong everything every time he plays. A real gifted leader, one of the great leaders in sports. Now here's Poplinski. He has Otto right there, but you can see Fedorko was already arrived at Otto by the time the camera picked it up. For a split second, Otto was open. Poplinski would have had to thread the needle almost immediately, and he didn't have a chance to, whether he didn't see him or elected not to, but Otto was out of the play very, very quickly. In front of that net, you have but a split second to really execute.
Mike Vernon, who has not been tested yet here at all by the St. Louis Blues, and Rick Mahar out here working center ice with Eddie Beers, the former Flame, and Herb Ragland, the rookie. Now tempers heat up here as Terry Johnson. Doug Risebrow moves into the parade.
Boy, look at Paul Baxter in there, just cuffing the St. Louis player in the face, number 4 for the Flames, who came in from the side. And well, I'll tell you something, when you have an instance like that and you have 2 players ganging up on one, that's a real test for a team to check their togetherness. You know, you really have to stand up and protect your teammates when there's a 2-on-1 situation like that.
Well, the Flames said they'd be a little more aggressive in the second game, and maybe this is the start of it to come. Here in Calgary, the score, the Flames 0 and the Blues 0.
The pride is back. Born in America. The pride is back. Born in America.
Plymouth shows you why the pride is back. Plymouth Reliant K, 6-passenger room, Plymouth's 550 protection plan. Front-wheel drive Reliant K.
The pride is back. Born in America again.
Plymouth says thanks again, America. Now with 6.8 60-month financing or $500 on Horizon.
Doug Risebrow and Terry Johnson will.
Well, we're going to listen for the penalties now. Obviously, Risebrow and Johnson. Pavis and Ragland for St. Louis. There they are. All right, so it's roughing penalties for 2 St. Louis players and 2 Calgary players. Really won't affect much on the ice, Mike. We're playing 5 aside still with the way the rules are set up. Or at least 5 skaters aside, 6 total.
And this is Brian Benny, the young defenseman. Called upon tonight, lost the puck. Perry Berrazan slap shot and kicked out of there by Wamsley. Right back in front, and Wamsley covers on the doorstep.
Boy, Perry Berrazan got great wood on that one.
Well, let's join Jim Houston right now.
All right, we'll remind you the Road to the Cup continues on ESPN. Tomorrow night we'll be in New York for the Rangers and the Montreal Canadiens in Game 3 of that series as we continue bringing you hockey right through to the Stanley Cup Championship on the day the Cup is presented. Rangers are really on the ropes. I talked in the opening, Bill, about the Flames having to worry about being satisfied with what they've done so far. The Rangers really have to worry about that now.
They sure do. I don't think the Rangers are quite as gifted a team as the Flames, and in a sense, Jim, they're facing a different obstacle. The Flames now have to prepare for the St. Louis Blues as if they were preparing for the Edmonton Oilers. That's a pretty tough task for them.
A lot of work going on behind the St. Louis goal, and it's finally dug out of there by Brian Sutter. Sutter's the only one of the 6 Sutter brothers that's left in the playoffs, and the oldest one at that. He played in Friday night's game with a bruised shoulder, if I'm not mistaken, and felt pretty good after taking a couple of hits.
He played sparingly, though, Mike. Tonight he's out for his second shift far earlier than he was in the last game.
Well, he's such a big force on this St. Louis team. Rob Ramey directs it over to Lee Norwood. Still scoreless here. We played just over 5 minutes in the first period. Dave Barr drags it in. But Sheehy swings it away from him. Right winger comes to Mike Eaves. Eaves will dish it off to Paul Reinhardt. Nice move to get around. LaValle on the left side to Hogan Lube. Lube puts it in front. But Norwood very steady on the blue line. And again the Blues drive it in. It came right towards the net. And Vernon had to be very sharp on that one. Hogan Lube. Short drop pass to Joel Otto. Good pass. Peplinski behind the defense. Cutting in. He's hooked. Pulled down. Penalty coming up against the Blues. Peplinski was headed in. But the power play now belongs to the Flames. Here in Calgary, the score, the Flames nothing, the Blues nothing.
It has the power to control light automatically like no other camera. The Olympus OMPC. Own the first camera in the known universe with ESP.
Ronson introduces a good-looking lighter you don't have to throw away. Refill-A-Lite, new from Ronson. It's under $2.50, and it's for keeps.
Well, there's a whole crowd of St. Louis Blues in the penalty box now. The latest arrival is that man, Rick Natras, who's off for tripping Jim Peplinski. And, you know, there are good penalties and bad penalties in this game, Mike, and that was definitely a good penalty. Jim Peplinski and a nice feed from Joel Otto was... Here's the nice feed from Otto. Peplinski right down the middle. Natras just made a diving attempt, and I think was probably happy to take Peplinski out of the play. And what happened after we froze that picture was that Peplinski actually knocked the net off with his knees, but got up, no harm done.
Power play chance for the Flames. First for either team on the night. Reinhardt to McGinnis. And he shoots one that deflects up into the seats here at the Saddledome. The Flames have 9 power play goals in the playoffs. 15.5 their conversion rate, which is not an impressive mark. And the Blues penalty killing at 77.4%. They've allowed 14. Although, you know, they're a little misleading because in the playoffs you see much better penalty killing than you do usually in the regular season.
Well, I'll tell you a statistic that's got to be a lot scarier for the Atlanta Flames. Well, there's a slip from the past. A statistic, Rick Wamsley has not lost here ever. In 7 games that he's played against the Flames in Calgary, he has won them all.
Reinhardt left point. Power play on the man advantage. Reinhardt shot, and Wamsley got a stick on that to direct it away from the goal. Played up over the glass again by McGinnis. That one might come outside the line, and it will.
And lifetime, Rick Walmsley is 11-2 against the Flames. So with that kind of obstacle facing you, it can tend to unnerve you now and again with that record intact like that. And he's never lost in Calgary.
1 minute and 38 seconds to go. Well, it's Dan Quinn, and they're hoping that he can add some power on the man advantage situation. He's been a pretty good specialist. He's going to come off now and sit down.
Now, he came up to me one time in New Jersey this year when I was doing a Flames New Jersey game and said, "You don't remember me, but when I was about 7 years old, I won the trophy for the most valuable player in Ottawa, and it was your second year in the NHL, and you presented me the trophy." And he told me that's one of the reasons he's wearing number 10 here. That was my old number. One of the nicest compliments that anybody can pay you is to wear your number and be proud of it.
Lanny McDonald for the Flames. Power play on here. Brian Sutter and Doug Gilmour, the penalty killers. Babis and Ramage back. They take their time. They're very patient on the Flames. Oakenlube going to Steve Bozic. Bozic moving in. He's got a chance, and his shot was blocked. Lube to Bozic. Shoots one. The leg save made. Right off the left pad of Walmsley. Lanny McDonald. The Flames working the puck around very well right now. Oakenlube. Left side of McCowan. Slap shot. Save made. Rebound is to the right of the net. The Flames can't get there. It's all Calgary at the moment, but a puck comes out.
Boy, they've really made adjustments from the other night, Mike. They were trying to shoot it from the blue line. Now you see where they're shooting from, about 15 feet in along the boards on each side, and they're really having some results. They're getting it on net on Walmsley.
Reed's overskated. Lanny McDonald behind the goal. Going to Dan Quinn back on here. Danny Quinn, center point Lube. Now to McCowan. Back to Lube. He should shoot it. He will. It's blocked. Oh, it almost went in. I think Walmsley got a glove on that. It hit somebody in front, John Tonelli, I believe, and deflected up in the air. McCowan going to McDonald. 22 seconds to go in the penalty. And Calgary, very impressive, but they haven't scored. Lou to Quinn. Wrist shot, blocked again by Tonelli. Loose puck, and Walmsley falls down and holds it right there.
Well, that's the kind of pressure, Mike, that the Flames need to put on the St. Louis Blues to capitalize. St. Louis plays a very tight box. They don't play as aggressively when they're killing penalties as a lot of teams do. So the Flames have done tonight is find an open spot of the ice to get a quality shot on net and then converge for the rebound. And you can see that they don't have any goals on the board yet, but that would have to be considered thus far with 12 seconds remaining in it a very successful power play because they've had 4 or 5 very good chances.
The Flames have outshot the St. Louis Blues 7-1 here in the early going. 12:25 left in the opening period. And Badger Bob is his nickname on the Calgary bench. Joel Otto to Al McGinnis. Reinhardt held it in nicely, flip it in front of that net. Otto trying to stuff it in, he can't do it. And it's cleared off to Rick Mahar. Giving the puck to Mark Reeds. Long shot. Mike Vernon will make that save. Penalty has expired. Long blast, and Vernon reached up to stop that. Dropped it off now, and it comes out the right side. Peplinski gives chase. He can't get to it. Joel Otto drags it back in. Peplinski pitches in to hold the puck along the boards. Blues trying to clear it out. Natras giving the puck to Jim Pavis. Pavis a giveaway. Picked up by Otto. Here he is. Makes his move. He's in too deep. He goes behind the net. Trying to stuff it. It came off. Goaltender Walmsley, and it's out and away from the net. All right, here in Calgary. The Blues nothing. The Flames nothing.
I've never seen nothing like it. Landed over that hill, moved around some, and then just jerked off. They all have this one big eye, and they make this humming sound.
Introducing the Honda Fat Cat. It's got an electric starter and no clutch, so it's easy to ride. And when it comes to fun, there's nothing like it on Earth.
They come from Mars.
I don't need this from out of town.
The Fat Cat. It's a whole new animal.
Well, big Joel Otto not that happy with himself. Had kind of a 2-on-none situation with Jim Peplinski, Mike. And just skated on by the net, and you can do that when it's a 2-on-1 coming from a long way off. Here's a look at a save. Watch Mike Vernon's glove hand and see how fast this kid is. Talk to Glenn Hall, the Hockey Hall of Famer, an ex-great goaltender who's now a goaltending coach here in Calgary. Asked him if he'd help Vernon. He said, there's very little I can tell him. He's playing so well. He was the most valuable player in the junior leagues his last 2 years that he played in a very, very competitive league. And when Glenn Hall pays you that kind of compliment and says there's very little I can teach him right now, you know the kid's doing a lot right.
Vernon, by the way, played in 3 games last year for the Flames, was 0-3 and an 8.11 goals against average. But what a difference a year makes. And Doug Gilmour, who has played exceptionally well for the Blues in the playoffs. Sheehy takes it away to Risebrow. One man back to beat Pavis. Risebrow got around him, coming for the net. A backhander, he scores! What a shot! And it's 1-0 Calgary.
Well, Doug Risebrow was one of the elder statesmen on this Calgary team, but you'd hardly know it by this effort. He outlegs the guy behind him. Watch this move between Pavis's skates. Whoop, look out, I'm gone. Now, you really don't have much choice when you backhand it like that. He was lucky enough to hit the spot right between Rick Walmsley's legs. Boy, did he hoot Pavis. But got great wood on his backhand. Walmsley was trying to protect the lower corners with a little spread eagle action. Risebrow nailed it right between his legs, and they're on the board first. Calgary won. St. Louis doesn't have any yet.
Well, Risebrow able to make the play to get the Flames up 1-0. And Brian Benning defensively swings it up ahead to Doug Wickenheiser. Wickenheiser. Now Gino Campbellini on the left wing. A long slap shot that missed the mark. Reeds and Campbellini on either side for Doug Wickenheiser at center. Terry Johnson puts the body into Reeds. And Kerry Fraser said, gentlemen, let's have a face-off. All right, we've got a moment. Let's join Jim Houston.
Okay, Mike, let's remind fans that Top Rank Boxing will be with you on ESPN on Tuesday night at 9 Eastern from Harrah's Marina in Atlantic City. How about this one? A 10-rounder between Doug DeWitt of Yonkers and Charlie Boston of Trenton, New Jersey, a middleweight bout on Tuesday at 9 o'clock. Bill, are you surprised that Mike Eaves has made a comeback here tonight? You know, here's a guy who had serious concussions. Doctors have told him not to play. Wasn't in all year, and now he's back in the lineup.
First of all, Jim, thanks for explaining. We hadn't had a chance to explain why he had retired. Is because of recurring headaches and concussions. Yes, I am surprised, especially because Bob Johnson said, look, why should we change our lineup? It was good enough to win in Game 7 in Edmonton. But that's the kind of psychological warfare these teams are waging right now. They want you to think one thing and see and believe one thing, and then they do the exact opposite just before game time. And I'm sure it's an inspirational move as much as anything.
Brian Benny now moves it up into Calgary eyes. Jamie McCowan can't clear. Bergeron right point. A heavy shot. And that is off the stick of Mike Vernon. Back comes Peplinski with Joey Mullen. 2-on-1 to Bellis. Peplinski's got Mullen cutting for the net. There he is. Walmsley made the save. Back comes Fedorko. He got through traffic. Trying to go to Hunter on the right wing. Fedorko couldn't get it to the point, and it comes back to Joe Mullen. Mullen moves in, drop past to McGinnis, a heavy shot right over the crossbar to hit the glass. Rob Ramage controlling. Looking right wing, and this poke right back into the Blues zone. Well, the Flames have had the upper hand. They've outshot the Blues 10-3. They lead 1-0. Ramage will find Rick Mahar. Into the corner, Eddie Beard. Back to Mahar. Bozic steals. To Berezan, back to Bozic. Cuts in deep, around Ramage, a backhander, and Walmsley just got it at the last second and holds it in the goal crease.
Boy, very uncharacteristic of the St. Louis defense. That time it was Ramage that got hooped between his leg. It was Pavis before that. They're going to have to tighten up. Here in Calgary, it's the Flames 1. St. Louis nothing.
It has the power to control light automatically like no other camera. The Olympus OMPC, own the first camera in the known universe with ESP.
Memories everywhere when you
Rick Walmsley.
Joey Mullen on the right of your screen drives to the net. What a nice feed by Jim Poplinski, but Mullen, it looked as if was not able to get the puck away. It almost looked as if it stuck on his stick. Now on the other side, watch Bozek's move between Ramage's feet. Whoop. You can't play the puck. You actually have to line up with the man. I mean, that's so basic. It's taught to kids when they start playing, is don't try and check the puck away from the man. Actually run into him with your body.
Jim Pavis. He looked to send it out to Wickenheiser. Beyond his reach, and here come the Flames again. Perry Berezan. Around the horn, Johnson comes over to make a nice move to keep it in. Pavis to Gino Cavallini. He can't get it out. Baxter put it back in front of the net. Rick Batris. He'll avoid Colin Patterson. And worked out. Penalty coming up here. It'll be against the Flames, though, an interference call.
Gee, Mike Baxter's not even arguing this one. He's skating right over to the penalty box, and I saw it, and I didn't even know if it was a penalty. However, it is, and it's still the Flames 1, St. Louis nothing.
The pride is back. Born in America. The pride is back. Born in America.
Plymouth shows you why the pride is back. Plymouth Voyager, car-like handling, Plymouth's 550 protection plan. Versatile Plymouth Voyager.
The pride is back. Born in America. Again.
Plymouth says thanks again, America. Now with 6.8 60-month financing or $500 on Horizon.
Kind of a sweet-looking guy for somebody that likes to use the lumber on people, isn't it, Mike Lang? That's Paul Baxter. Now we're going to take a look at the top left of your screen. The puck's, all right. From where we are sitting, you can see Gino Cavallini getting knocked down by Baxter. From where we are sitting, we could not see where the puck was. And as it turned out, the puck was nowhere near Gino Cavallini. That was the reason for the penalty. From up here, we're sitting on this side of the boards. It was difficult to pick it up, and that's why Baxter didn't argue. He knew he was guilty.
The Blues on the power play for the first time tonight. Calgary's had one opportunity. And the Flames lead the game 1-0. Blues at 13.8% of the conversion rate. Brian Sutter. Now to Mark Hunter. Hunter trying to make a play here. It comes left point to Brian Benning. Benning behind, then to Federico. He centers, comes all the way down to net for a slip shot. The good save made by Vernon there. Blues come back shorthanded. Oakenlube, who has both shorthanded goals in the playoffs for the Calgary Flames. Minute 15 to go on the penalty to Baxter. And an offside call against the Blues. Damien McCowan putting Benning into the boards very heavily.
Boy, he put him in late, too. That's why there's a conversion of blue sweaters in there. Brian Sutter was the first. McCowan, it almost looked as if he didn't hear the whistle. If he did hear the whistle, he was definitely trying to stir things up. He just rode one of the Blues right out of the play. Mike, in watching the way the Flames kill penalty, I have to be impressed with their discipline at this stage. And they did this. One thing they did do right the other night is kill penalties. They had their first team out there, who was Oakenlube and Doug Risebrough. Now, with only 30 seconds gone on the penalty, they switched off. Bozek went out there with another Flame, Colin Patterson. And when the play continues, they will actually change and have 4 different sets. One set will go out 2 different times. Another set will go out 2 different times. So they divide it up into 30-second segments, which at this stage of the year, I think, is a very, very smart move. Stay out there, you get overextended, and you can't measure how taxing it is on your body when you go out there and get caught out there too long.
The Blues at the center point. Ramage going to Lee Norwood. He is cross-checked by Bozek, and the puck comes back along the near board. Norwood fakes a shot. He'll go to Gilmore. Wheel and deal on the slot. Got a man there. Beers put it on that save. Rebound. Oh, it's just missed. As Beers had a chance there to put it in on the rebound. He thought he had himself a goal there.
Boy,
backhander.
You know, he had more time than he thought, too, Mike. He hurried it and didn't get good wood on it.
Norwood delivers it over to Beers. 33 seconds to go on the penalty. Gilmore trying to get around McGinnis. Centered it. Cleared by McCowan, and here come the Flames, shorthanded. Dan Quinn fired one right over the head of Rick Walmsley. Beers to Ramey. Outlet pass too far. Now McGinnis with possession for Calgary. Back into the blue zone. 5 seconds remaining on the Baxter penalty to the Flames. Calgary leading 1-0 on a Doug Risebrough goal. Ramey's the center is going to shoot it long. That'll miss the target. Vernon helps out. Baxter back on. He'll take the puck. Ran into the referee. But it's cleared down to the Blues stripe. McGinnis looked for Lanny McDonald beyond his reach. This might be an icing call, but the Weisbau rushes in. No, the Blues got there first, and it's icing called against the Calgary Flames. Now again, they start to push and shove.
That's big ex-Flame Charles Bourgeois, number 4 for the Blues. He was, well, he's in the right hand in the face again in there. Badger Bob looks on. Charles Bourgeois, there's another man that went in the trade with Bourgeois to St. Louis. Along with Eddie Beers, 3 Calgary players went for Joey Mullen and Terry Johnson and Rick Wilson, who is in the minors right now. Both Johnson and Mullen are here. Here's the action at the other end. There's when Beers came in. Now, there was no white person around him, but, you know, when you get into traffic like that, Mike, you really don't know how much time you have, and it's rare that you have that much time, so you always go in there trying to put it away as quickly as you can. There's Beers. Now, you see, nobody was really near him. He did have time to actually maybe stop and lift it up over Vernon's pads, but let me tell you something. You get in that tight, and it's like you have blinders on a lot of times. I think the great ones see everything in slow motion, but to most players, it's just a giant blur of colors when you get in that tight.
Well, Neil Sheehy of the Flames has gone in. I believe that's Rick Natras of the Blues. They'll get coincidental minors here.
That's Gino Cavallini over there. Talk about Charles Bourgeois, Mike. What a likable guy. You know, was very popular here in Calgary. He's got a great sense of humor. And he openly admits to people that know him that he's not making that much money. And obviously, because of his status, he's not one of the highest paid players in the league. When he was traded, he went on a radio show here and with a straight face said that it was because his contract was so large that the Flames had to dump him to St. Louis to try and defray some of their payroll costs. And he's also said in the papers here that the first thing that St. Louis taught him when he got there was to flip the puck as high as he could into the air. That's their breakout plays.
Bernie Federko, along with Mark Hunter and Kevin Lavallee. Lavallee from the face-off hit his own man with that slap shot. And it carries back to the center ice area. Natras. Can't find anybody. Jamie McCowan gave it right back to Natras, and he in return coughed it up to the offside call against Calgary. Well, the Flames on the regular season were 23-11-6 here. The Blues on the road, 14 wins, 23 losses, and 3 ties.
You know, the Blues have not lost here, Mike, since October 26, 1983. So they're not only up against the Walmsley statistic, but St. Louis has had great success here in Calgary, both in the old Corral and here in the new Saddle Dome.
Well, they beat them 3 straight last year in the regular season, 2 out of 3 this year. The Blues did. Sometimes you get a team's number, and it's tough to break the jinx. Jim Pavis. Blues lead the series 1-0. Al McGinnis up to Joel Otto, and another offside call.
Well, it's obvious to me that Bob Johnson did a lot of good work in practice yesterday. And, you know, yesterday was the Flames' first practice since before their 7th game in the Edmonton series. They really couldn't muster any practice in that one day off between these series. And both Al McGinnis and Joel Otto were given the day off yesterday for practice. And Johnson wanted to work on 3 things, 2 offensive things. One was offensive play up to St. Louis's blue line, and the second thing was their offensive play inside St. Louis's blue line, and the third thing, which was so different from having to play Edmonton, was trying to work on their transitional game, was switching from a defensive position to an offensive situation. And Edmonton hardly gave them any time. St. Louis gave them so much time in game 1 that they actually were lulled into a sense of overconfidence and started to carry the puck. That was one of the reasons why they never went out of their way to dump the puck deep into the St. Louis zone. And as a result, they got stopped by that big blue wall time and time again. I was sitting up here wondering if that was really their game plan. And as it turned out, I checked with the coaches, and they said, no, our game plan was to dump it in. The players just wouldn't hear us, and they just wouldn't listen to us.
Well, both coming off emotional series to get into the finals here for the conference championship. The Blues defeating Toronto 4-3. And of course, Calgary winning in Edmonton.
I'll tell you, Mike, how different St. Louis's practice was yesterday. Only 8 players went out, and they're the players that don't suit up regularly. Both goaltenders were out there, but it was an optional practice, and Jacques Demers, their coach, didn't even show up, so he was pretty relaxed in giving his guys a day off.
John Tonelli, the former Islander, who has a taste of what it's all about to win the Stanley Cup. 1-4, while a member of the New York Islanders. And the offside call once again. Bob Hodges and John D'Amico, the 2 linesmen, and again the referee. is Kerry Frazier tonight. Both clubs failing to score in the power play chance that they've had in the period.
You know, Mike, I had a chance to ask Coach Bob Johnson this morning what the biggest problem was in preparing for Game 1 against St. Louis, and he said he couldn't bring the team to the world of reality. After that big victory against Edmonton, it was just the whole world seemed so unreal to them that he just couldn't get them back to reality in time.
Now we talk about Edmonton. Here's McCowan, though, at the left side. A long shot deflected, loose in front. And just off Wamsley's Lanny McDonald couldn't drill it home. Tonelli from behind the net, a backhand of the save made by Wamsley again. And Wamsley's been tough in the first period. Back to center comes Gilmore. Relay it to Federico. Looks for room. Can't go in. He had a man offside, and he spotted it out of the corner of his eye. Now he'll try. He's hit right at the blue line by McCowan. And Tonelli works it ahead to Doug Risebrough. Drop pass to Lanny McDonald. He couldn't get it. Reinhardt will. Wrist shot. Wamsley gloves it and stops it right there.
Boy.
You know, I was thinking, too, about Edmonton, just to finish the thought as a push and shove again. Edmonton's out of the playoffs, but, boy, there's a lot of other teams, too. You think about people that are sitting home with the early exit, the Flyers who have to be watching this game, the Capitals.
Yeah.
I mean, you just go through it, and the Boston Bruins at an early moment against the Canadians. All those guys got to be saying, hey, you know, I'm tired of playing golf right now. I mean, I really didn't want to play golf, and it happens in the game of hockey.
Well, listen, out of 21 teams in the NHL, the 4 that are left were the 6th place team, the 7th place team, the 12th place team, and the 14th place team. With Montreal and Calgary being 6 and 7, St. Louis being 12, and the Rangers being 14. So that tells you what kind of year it's been. Funny year.
Mike Eaves, along with Steve Bozak and Håkan Loob for the Calgary Flames on their front line. Rick Mahar with Mark Reeds and Brian Sutter for the Blues. And whipped up into the Calgary zone. That's Herb Raglan on the right wing, not Mark Reeds, as we mentioned to you. Raglan wears number 25, Reeds number 15. Here's Eaves down the left side. Loob cutting for the net. Eaves shoots it, and Wamsley read it perfectly and made the save. Sprawling save. 15-5 the shots now. Boy, Wamsley definitely keeping the Blues in this game in the first period. Brilliant goaltending. Former Montreal Canadian. Many people call the Blues Montreal West. Paul Baxter, a lot of Montreal players dot this St. Louis lineup. Players that have played with them. Håkan Loob. Lost the puck, and here's Federico, 2-on-3. Crisscross with the LaValle. Goes off his skates, maintains presence to get up, whipping it behind the net. LaValle could not get to it. It comes left point, though, to Norwood. His shot blocked, and here's a breakaway chance for Perry Berezan. In alone on Wamsley. His shot stopped by Wamsley. A great save there. Rebound in front. Bozak to Quinn. Shot blocked. And Wamsley's doing it all. Standing on his head for the Blues in the first period. Mark Hunter will take it out of danger. Berezan denied on the breakaway. LaValle. Drop pass, a blind pass picked up by Peplinski. The momentum belongs to Calgary. Peplinski right down the slot. Finally checked against it to Berezan, and the shot was stopped again by Wamsley. Puck controlled now by the Blues, and they flip it to center. And the Bees around a hive are coming awfully tough against the Blues. All right, let's go to Jim Houston.
Coming up in our first intermission, we'll chat with Joey Mullen. He'll be along in the studio. Be interesting to hear from Joey how he feels about the trade that brought him here from St. Louis, how he feels about playing against the Blues, and how he's going to feel when he gets to St. Louis for the next game in this series. So we'll talk to Joey about that. Check in at Sports Center, and Bob Lee will be around with the Bud Light Hockey News looking for some highlights of this first period as Calgary tries to take a 2-0 lead. I think St. Louis really wants to slow this down a bit. They did for a while. I think they lead the league in faceoffs, and their kind of game is to slow it down, Bill.
I would have to agree with you, Jim Hughes, and they would want to slow it down. But, you know, this in itself is typical St. Louis. They're being outshot 16-5. They hang on somehow. And Rick Wamsley comes through when they need him, and Greg Milner, other goalie, comes through when they need him. And Mike Lang, you've seen them play. They'll do this often. They'll just get crucified in a particular period, hang on for dear life, and just peck away, and the next thing you know, boy, they're right back in it.
Well, it seems to make them a stronger club. There are clubs that'll play like that. They have to get down or be pressured and be in trouble before they respond. And they've been a pretty good club in periods 2 and 3 during the course of the year. They proved that here on Friday night, winning with 2 third-period goals. They were behind going to the third period. Joey Mullen. Otto centers. Well, I'll tell you, Walmsley has been very impressive.
He sure has, and the Flames have been a lot smarter, too. I mean, they're out shooting them 16-5, and, you know, they're sending their forwards outside of their own zone when they get the puck to pull St. Louis's defense back, and then they're just making a dump shot off the boards and letting their forwards fight it out with the St. Louis defense. The other night, they were trying to make such perfect passes out of their zone, and what St. Louis does, they pull one of their forwards out so that they end up having 3 men back, all acting as defensemen. Then they bring 1 man back in the middle. They don't care about the sides. They care about the middle. And what that does is force the Calgary team to actually come up one side. And that man in the middle that St. Louis has coming back cuts off the pass to the other side. So basically, Calgary has to make all of their play in one half of the rink against 3 or 4 St. Louis Blues. That's darn hard to do. So what they're trying to do now is loosen them up, and they're having a lot more success.
Flames win the draw. Terry Johnson rolls it around. Picked up on the near side by the Blues. And Cavallini. Now Wickenheiser. They look for Cavallini. Here's Wickenheiser in. A slap shot. And that's off the pad of Vernon, who has to come out of the net and put the glove to it. Only the 6th shot for the Blues in the period. I don't know. Vernon hasn't really been tested a great deal in the first period. It's not that he looks shaky to me, but it looks as though with the lack of work, if the Blues can get some shots on him, they might be getting an opportunity to get right back into this game.
Possibly, because he is cool. And we mentioned how a goalie not only has to stay in the game physically, but mentally. Your mind tends to wander sometimes when you're down there. But Mike Vernon makes a lot of difficult saves look pretty easy. He's very, very relaxed, which is uncharacteristic for a kid his age. I say uncharacteristic. Look at Patrick Roy in Montreal. He's Mr. Cool. Probably the top nominee for the Smythe Trophy as the MVP in the playoffs right now. But Vernon's very relaxed, and you have to be in the playoffs or you defeat yourself.
Under 2 minutes left in period number 1, Lanny McDonald down the right wing, and he'll snap one wide of the post. Reinhardt over to cut it off. Lanny McDonald, look out here. He's open in that slot for a moment. Goes to Sheehy, right point. Shot through traffic. Stop, rebound, score! Doug Risebrough makes it 2-0. Calgary.
Well, that is not a celebration for the goal. John Tonelli was left in a pile by the net and ended up in a fracas with a couple of the Blues, but watch how Doug Risebrough is Johnny on the spot here to the left of your screen. Bottom left, he just skated in. The Flames are getting the shot through, which they didn't the other night. They're screening. Look at that crowd in front of the St. Louis goal. And when you take a guy like Rick Walmsley's vision away from him, it doesn't matter how good a goalie you are. Those rebounds will kill you. Most goals are scored on rebounds. That one was dangerous. Doug Risebrough in the right place at the right time. Boy, 2 big first period goals by that man, and it's the Flames up by 2.
Well, I'll tell you who helped make that play was Lanny McDonald, because he got the puck off the boards to keep it alive, came across and passed it back, and the good low shot and the rebound happened.
Well, Lanny McDonald is the unsung hero in so many ways, on so many goals and in the locker room, and it's kind of fitting that he contributed in an unsung kind of way. He doesn't care about the spotlight. He just cares about team wins, as does that man. Both Risebrough, McDonald, Jim Poplinski, these guys are the real fiber of this Calgary Flames hockey team. The real leaders, and without them, it's safe to say that they would have had a much tougher struggle, and I would venture to say that without the leadership of those 3, Poplinski, McDonald, and Risebrough, not to single them out as the only reason why they did it, but without those 3, the Edmonton Oilers might be facing the St. Louis Blues right now, Mike.
Risebrough, the 32-year-old veteran. 4th year with the Flames. We've got a high sticking call here. We had penalties called here, and coincidental minors, they've sent people to the locker room after the goal. Risebrough for McDonald. And the puck played over to the left point, McCowan. Couldn't get it to the right point man, McGinnis. Penalty coming up here, and it'll be against the St. Louis Blues. Delay call coming up. Al McGinnis controlling the puck. And the Blues already down 2-0. Going to face some more firepower as Cavallini touches up.
Boy, how many times have we mentioned how harmful a penalty is at the end of the period, or a goal at the end of the period, Mike? The goal was scored with 1 minute and 43 seconds to go in the period, so that's 1 strike against the Blues. Now they've drawn a penalty with 1 minute and 17 seconds to go in the period, and both of those are kind of crucial situations, especially if the penalty results in a goal. The way it's gone for the Blues in this first period, it could be worse, you know. The shots are 17-6 right now, and it could be worse. It's only 2-0.
Charlie Bourgeois picks up the minor penalty. High sticking the call.
See Big Charlie shaking his head. He's not that happy with it. Of course, you're never happy when you're in the box. And I'll tell you, the longest, loneliest skate in hockey is from the penalty box back to your bench after the opposition has scored against you when you've been whistled off. Boy, it's a kind of wish there was a tunnel sometime, you know, going under the ice so you didn't have to come out and face your own fans.
Isn't it funny, too, in the game of hockey that some players, when they get penalties, it almost seems like every time they go in, a goal scored against them, and other people can commit
Isn't that
penalties
true?
after penalty after penalty, and never get burned on it.
That's true.
Al McGinnis back to play it behind his own net. A minute 8 to go in the period. The Flames will have to hurry along here to try and cash in before the period ends. We'll go by the scoreboard clock. Time left because St. Louis will be shorthanded the rest of the way. McGinnis to Reinhardt. Remy got it up. Reinhardt and back to the neutralized area. Reinhardt to big Joe Lano. Well, he's a presence on the ice just with the size. Reinhardt in front for Quinn. A quick shot blocked right in front. Norwin got a skate on that. I don't think it touched Wamsley. And it's snapped away by the Blues.
Boy, Danny Quinn really got rid of that shot fast. You know, for a guy that didn't play last game, Bob Johnson showing a lot of confidence in him. He's not only played regularly tonight, he's on the power play. He's also killed penalties, Mike.
Quinn hustles in. Drop pass to McGinnis. A heavy blast. I don't think Wamsley saw it, but it went wide of the goal. Now to the left point. Reinhardt going to McGinnis. Over to Quinn. One times it. And the leg save made by Wamsley. 12 seconds to go in the period. Otto behind the net. Gave it to Quinn. McGinnis has to hurry here. He shoots wide. Right on Wamsley. Save. Rebound. Score! Joey Mullet. And the Flames make it 3-0.
Boy, the Flames are a cool bunch tonight. This puck is going to end up being directed at the net. Now it's going to go back to the top of your screen. McGinnis is simply going to take a wrist shot to the net. Well, we're way ahead of the play. Now it's going to go back to the point, all right? It's going to go back to McGinnis. Now he's just going to take a wrist shot. Joel Otto deflects it right there. Wamsley makes the original save, but Mr. Cool, Joey Mullen, picks up the puck. And unlike what Eddie Beers did earlier in the period and just let go of it, he actually stepped to his right and then shot it under Wamsley's arm. Heads-up play by Joey Mullen as the period ended. Boy, they outshot him 20-6, Mike, and the score, I would have to say, is probably indicative of the way they play. The Flames leading 3-0 right now.
Well, Doug Breisbrow had a pair of goals 3 and 4 in the playoffs. Joey Mullen nails down his 8th with only 3 seconds to go in the opening period, a power play goal, and it was all Calgary against the Blues here in this opening period. Well, Jim Houston will be along with his special guest, Joey Mullen of the Calgary Flames, and we'll have that for you coming up here from the Olympic Saddledome in just a moment, and we hope you'll stay tuned.
Seems the Calgary Flames are over the euphoria of beating the Edmonton Oilers. After losing Game 1, they've come out storming tonight, lead the St. Louis Blues 3-0 after the first period at the Olympic Saddledome in Calgary. 2 goals by Doug Breisbrow and another goal with just 3 seconds left in the first period by Joey Mullen. Good timing as he comes to join us in the studio. Joey, you had a game that the Blues took away from you the other night. It looked like you were perhaps suffering from an emotional letdown. Did you feel that way?
Not really. You can't use that as an excuse. They had an emotional series, and they didn't seem to let down at all. They played that game, and we didn't play our game. That was it.
But it's obviously been a different game tonight. You know the Blues. If anybody on the Calgary Flames should be able to tell his teammates how this team would play, I guess it was you. You probably fully expected the way they came out in Game 1.
Oh, definitely. You know, you try to key on a couple of players, and you try to let the guys know which players they are and what they're going to do out there. And we've been talking a lot, and I've been getting in on a lot of conversations. So I'm trying to help the team out as far as what I can tell them about St. Louis.
Is it a total reversal from what you had to do against Edmonton that you have to do against St. Louis?
Pretty much so. We had to keep going at Edmonton and at them, and then now we got to make sure we don't let them come at us and beat us.
You probably not in your wildest imagination at the start of this season would have predicted you'd be in a Calgary uniform playing the St. Louis Blues in the conference final. I know you were disappointed when you were traded. How do you feel about it now?
Well, I'm pretty much over it now. It's still hard when these guys come in. They're still my friends, but I got to try to put that aside during the series right now.
What about playing against a guy who I know was a very close friend of yours in Bernie Federko? Here you are with a guy you used to room with, and he's a buddy, and now you got to line up against him.
Oh, like I said, it's tough, but you try to put it out of your mind and just go out and concentrate on your own game and play the best that you can.
There were comments made at trade time about Joe Mullen and playoffs and not being able to score, and I'm sure you didn't feel very good about those. How do you feel now, and did those comments give you incentive coming into the playoffs?
Well, I didn't hear the comments until I got to the playoffs this year, and they seemed to come out of St. Louis. I talked to Jacques Demers, and he said he didn't say them, so they had to come from somewhere else higher up, I would imagine, in the organization. So if that's the way they felt, they never told me that when I was there, and I don't see why they're saying it now. The trade's made, and there's no reason to bring things like that up.
How do you think you're going to feel on Tuesday night when you have to skate out in front of the crowd at the St. Louis Arena?
I think I feel good. You know, I always enjoyed playing in front of the St. Louis crowd, and they always gave me a good reception, even when I was in a Calgary uniform. So I'm looking forward to going back and playing.
Just before we go, let's have a Mullen family update. I know your wife, Linda, is out in Boston. You're expecting a child. What's happening?
Well, she's hanging in there. I don't know what she's waiting for, but hopefully it should come this weekend or sometime real soon.
She watching tonight?
I would say so, yeah.
All right. Well, Joe just said hello to Linda, and ESPN is the next best thing to being there tonight. Thank you very much, Joey, and for being our guest tonight. We'd like you to have this fine Loris timepiece, the official timepiece of ESPN. The score here after the first period is 3-0. The Calgary Flames leading the St. Louis Blues. More coming up on ESPN after this.
Stanley Cup Hockey on ESPN, brought to you by Ford and your Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately? By Mita, all we make are great copiers. And by Kentucky Fried Chicken, we do chicken right. Well, if in Game 1, Calgary was trying to carry the puck in over the blue line and was checked off at each time, this time they have solved the mystery. They have also solved the mystery of Walmsley in the goal, who had an 11-2 record coming into this game against Calgary. In fact, had never lost in the Saddle Dome. That may be changing tonight. Highlights from this first period in Game 2 with Calgary needing a victory to even matters. Scoreless here. Bozek gets it to Paul Reinhart, returns it to Bozek. Goes around Rob Ramage. Walmsley with the save, looking sharp early on, but they will solve the mystery of Rick Walmsley. Doug Risebrough takes the pass at center ice and goes in one-on-one with Jim Pavis. Risebrough goes around Pavis, puts it between the legs of Pavis, and then between Walmsley's legs, his third playoff goal. Calgary on the boards at 8:51. Final 2 minutes of play now. Lanny McDonald into the slot over to Neil Sheehy. Shoots from the point. Off the skate of Lee Norwood on defense over to Risebrough, poaching right there, puts it right home. Flames up 2-0. And with Bourgeois in the penalty box for St. Louis, Calgary power play. Final seconds, period 1. Quinn to McGinnis at the point. Otto deflects it, but Joey Mullen is there to put it home on the power play. So Risebrough to recap our scoring. Sheehy gets the assist. That made it 1-0. Then a little less than 10 minutes after that, Doug Risebrough's fourth goal of the playoffs. Sheehy again assisting, making it 2-0. And with 3 seconds remaining in period 1, Joey Mullen on the power play. Playoff goal number 8. Joel Otto and Al McGinnis picking up the assist, and that's where we stand at the count of 3-0. By the way, in our next intermission, we'll be talking about Doug Risebrough and also John Tonelli and all the experience that those men, along with Lanny McDonald, bring to this Calgary Flames team, because they certainly are a key integral part. And right now, the Flames trying to hold on to this lead. It's 3-0. Back to Calgary and Mike Lang and Bill Clement. Mike?
Thank you, Bob. And now Bill Clement looking to period number 2. The Flames just dominated in the opening 20 minutes. What will it take for the Blues to get back in the game?
Well, you know, they made individual errors by not running into people, where both Pavis, at least, and Rob Ramage, which could have played the man and could have made contact, it didn't. So they're going to have to play more aggressively. And I think what the Blues' goal is this period is to win the period. You know, you get in there between periods and you say, come on, if we win this period, we're at least going to close some of that gap. Then if we win the second period and can win the second period by as many goals as we are behind, and we'll do it that way. What they have to do is peck away, not look at it as an entire game right now. Take it period by period.
Offside call against the Flames to begin the second period. And the Blues starting a line that has Bernie Federko at center with Kevin LaValle on left wing, and Herb Ragland, an 18-year-old youngster, was a first-round draft choice. Putting him in the fire here in the playoffs.
Yeah, Jacques Demers not afraid to throw him in. He played the other night. He's about 205 or 6 pounds. He's a big kid, but he's only 18 years old.
He's up on the right wing and wears number 25, Federko, in the Calgary ice. Behind Mike Vernon. Can't put it out in front of Sheehy, deflected, and here's Joey Mullen, the former Blue. Cannot beat Rick Natras. Well, the Blues down 3-0. As we said in the first period, though, they have shown the ability to come back in games. And Mullen is crunched by Ragland on a heavy check. And Bernie Federko counterattacks. He'll go to Ragland. Can't hold it. Teplitsky runs right back into Ragland to return the favor. Lee Norwood. And Reinhardt taps it in. Walmsley comes out of the net. He'll poke it into the corner. Mike Eaves put it behind the goal. Norwood having trouble. And the Flames come up with it. Bozic run to center for Hook and Lube. And Federko covering up his own ink. Cleaned it up and flipped it back to center ice.
Boy, the Flames have learned now tonight, Mike, and in contrast to the other night, this whole thing started with Paul Reinhardt dumping the puck in. The Flames have gotten the puck back virtually every time they've shot it in deep and chased, which they didn't do at all the other night.
And the Blues guilty of icing. They were going to make a line change. They got trapped in their own zone and just took some of the pressure off. Again, the shots were 20-6 in favor of the Flames in the opening 20 minutes of action.
Kind of spread out, too. 12 different shooters for Calgary had shots on that. That's out of 18 skaters. So when you get that kind of balanced attack and can total 20 shots in a period, you know you're doing something right. We're looking at Al McGinnis there. Mike Eaves is just in the middle of a line change. He's coming off for the Flames, and he's the man that we mentioned is out of retirement for the first time this year. He retired because of recurring concussions, and you would have to wonder about his conditioning.
Quick shot, rebound, score, Lanny McDonald, 4-0 Calgary. Oh, the Flames have 3 goals on rebounds.
Well, they're either your best friend or your worst enemy, Mike. Rebounds, and this time nobody bothers Lanny McDonald. Doug Risebrough does a good job on the faceoff, and a second effort gets it. Nobody comes to Tonelli. Lanny McDonald is just allowed to skate to the side of the net. Very poor coverage, very uncharacteristic of the Blues. Let Lanny McDonald move in there like that, and Walmsley unable to control the rebound. So 21 shots now for the Flames, 4 goals on board. And here comes Rick Walmsley to the sidelines. It looks as if Greg Milne is going to come in as a stopper. So obviously that statistic that we mentioned earlier in the game, that Walmsley had never lost here in Calgary, certainly didn't seem to upset the Flames. Greg Milne, the guy that really got them through the Toronto series in fine fashion. You can see him preparing some of his equipment, taping up his fingers.
Well, Millen will come on. I don't think he can fault Rick Walmsley at all in this game, but I think Jacques Demers is trying to look for a change of
I think Rick
venue, if you will, something to get it going for the Blues.
In spite of the 4 goals against Rick Walmsley, I think he maybe should be presented with a Purple Heart. It's been action central right around Rick Walmsley all night long. See, Milne taping his fingers there. That's his catching hand, and it really helps protect those fingers against that puck, in spite of the fact that they wear a very, very big glove. You really could use a little extra protection in there, and goaltenders split their fingers very often when they catch a drive that comes at 100 miles an hour, so kind of hold the flesh together.
Milne at 6.
Smelling salts there too, excuse me, Mike, but that last thing that Milne did was take a little smelling salts and whiff it under his nose to wake up a little bit, get his head into the game.
Milne at 6-2 in the playoffs at 2.59 goals against average, and he will go in the net. The former Pittsburgh Penguin, Hartford Whaler, and now a St. Louis Blue coming on here.
I wonder if he's asking himself what he's walking into here. If the Blues don't put a lid on the Flames pretty soon, this thing is going to be a wild, wild game scoring-wise. We're less than a couple of minutes into the second period, and the Flames are up 4-0.
Jamie McCowan going back to play the puck. So Millen comes on at 1:25 of period number 2. With the puck is Barr, a quick shot. That's off the blocking glove of Mike Vernon. Jamie McCowan shoots it ahead. Blues have a chance here. Gilmore, a blast, that stop. Rebound to Ramage. Deflected in. Off the skate of McCowan, but the Blues now swarming. At least temporarily, the move has given them a lift. They've come on strong here. Babis shoots one. Very good shot, but Vernon made a better save. Centered. Ramage is there. He cuts in his shot. Blocked by the defense again. And McCowan stunned on that play. I don't know if he's tired or hurt. Lanny McDonald coming back. Lanny McDonald wristing one. And Millen wants to go by his glove hand. Doug Risebrough looks for the HT, the hat trick. He's got 2 of the 4. Calgary goals, a shot knocked away by Johnson, blocked. Baxter has it. His drive. That missed. McDonald behind the net. The tempo really picks up now between these two teams. McDonald to Baxter. Wristing one. Penalty coming up against the Blues. And here in Calgary, the score, the Flames 4, the Blues nothing.
Got to get out, got to get away. Find a Mustang, it's a Mustang kind of day. Got to feel it in the right groove. Got to Mustang attitude. Got to get out, got to get away. Have you driven a Ford Mustang lately?
And there's a look at the perpetrator of the St. Louis Blues' latest indiscretion in this hockey game. Dave Barr, who's off 2 minutes for hooking. He dragged down Doug Risebrough, Mike, in front of the St. Louis cage. At least it showed some aggressiveness. Watch to the left, upper left of your screen. Oh, dragged him down all right. He just collared him with a stick right around the neck. And I'll tell you what, you pull your stick along somebody's neck like that and you can get a real nice burn along your neck, kind of a friction burn from the tape and the wood.
Well, while we had Barr put in the box, tempers heated up, and Charlie Bourgeois and Terry Johnson, they both started the years on the opposite side.
Yeah.
Bourgeois started with Calgary and Johnson with the St. Louis Blues, but they'll both sit down. Those will be coincidental minors, will not affect the play on the ice.
And that man was doubtful for tonight's game, too. When we're going down our injury list, we might as well mention him. Harry Fraser, the National Hockey League referee, apparently is suffering from a strained back. Andy Van Helleman is here to back him up. But Harry Fraser not seeming to show too many effects of his back. As you can see, Charles Bourgeois sitting in there, no doubt doing a little comedic monologue for the NHL official in the penalty box. Mr. Entertainer, Charlie Bourgeois.
I think Johnson and Bourgeois picked up misconduct penalties, 10-minute misconducts. Dan Quinn with Joey Mullen and Joel Otto out here for the Flames. Millen directs it into the corner. Mullen to Joel Otto. And back to Joey Mullen. Native of New York, Reinhardt going to McGinnis. Quinn is open. Power play is on. A shot down by McGinnis. That was deflected. And Mattress taps to the head. Mark Reeds and Doug Wickenheiser, the 2 penalty killers for the Blues. Calgary leads 4-0. Quinn on right wing. Beats Reed. Dropping in front for Otto. He pulled the trigger. It was off a stick. Otto takes it free again. Right point to McGinnis. They're moving the puck extremely well. The Flames look just like they did against Edmonton in that series. They're playing well. Otto around the net trying to stuff it in, and Millen got a piece of it. And back comes Wickenheiser. 1:02 to go on the penalty to Dave Barr of the Blues. Vernon sets it up for Jamie McCowan. Gives it right back to Vernon. Gilmore can't steal. Lozig leaves it for Al McGinnis. He'll slam it in. Right by Millen around to the near wing. Johnson-Ellie. Gilmore whacked it up and back to the center circle. Now 29 seconds left in the penalty. Stanley with a good rush. Hit at the blue line, got it to McGinnis. Look out, a slap shot, and the save made. Rebound. At that time, the Flames couldn't tee it up.
Boy, can Al McGinnis shoot that puck. He has one of the hardest shots in the National Hockey League.
Lanny McDonald takes over. He'll wrist one on a good shot, but a better save by Millen. Boy, a very deceiving shot by Lanny McDonald and a great save by Millen there.
It was deceiving, Mike. It almost looked from here as if it dropped a little bit. I think that's maybe what gave Greg Millen all the trouble with it. It started out innocent, but by the time it got to the net, it was trouble. I think Lanny's going to carry the puck all the way down the side now. From this angle, it might be difficult to see if the puck drops, but I think it might have touched the St. Louis defender right as Lanny McDonald let the puck go, and that's what affected its trajectory. Lanny McDonald, he's going to be featured between periods along with Doug Risebrough and John Tonelli, and two of those guys have some great Stanley Cup experience, and should be a pretty interesting
penalty is expired. Dave Barr is on there at equal straight. Harry Berezan will cut into Blues ice. Takes a hard check behind the net. It goes to Quinn. Centers it front. Patterson right there. He can't tee it up to shoot it.
Boy, he got one from that position in game one and came very close to getting another one the very, very same in this game.
Berezan leads the rush back in again to Quinn. Man open left side. Here's Patterson. His shot. Millen to save the rebound. He shot it wide. Patterson had two cracks at him. Now back behind the goal. And the Blues look disorganized here. Early in period number 2, the Flames have scored, and they've just taken the play away from St. Louis all night long. Mark Hunter. Pavis blindly sends it around to Federico, and here are the Flames right on him. Good pressure. Bozic has it. Bozic to McCowan. Around the net, he looked for Peplinski or Berezan. Can't find him, but again, the Flames get to the puck first. McCowan, head down, slap shot, save Millen, rebound, clear to the corner. But St. Louis cannot clear. McCowan back to the net. Millen off his stick and up into the crowd. Oh, great balls of fire. Boy, the Flames are really turning it on. Here in Calgary, the Flames 4, the Blues nothing.
Some copier companies make televisions. Mita doesn't. Some make clock radios. Mita wouldn't hear of it. You see, we believe the best way to make better copiers is to make nothing but copiers. A philosophy that's helped me to create some of the most remarkable copiers anywhere. After all, we didn't get to be the fastest growing copier company by making cameras. Mita, all we make are great copiers. Call 1-800-ABC-MITA.
Now, Greg Millen has come on and been impressive, too.
He's had little choice. He certainly had a chance to be impressive. You know, sometimes goalies stand in there and they're really not tested. Well, that has not been the case tonight. The shots in itself, if you just tuned in, will be an indication of what the score is. The Flames are out shooting the St. Louis Blues 28-9 here with 14 minutes and 15 seconds to go in the second period. And they're outscoring them 4-0.
8-3 the shots here in this period of play. Al McGinnis whacks it in off the boards. Mike Eaves can't find the handle. Here with the Blues, maybe with a chance here. 2-on-2. Gilmore cuts inside. Sutter went for the puck. He'll drop it back, and Ragland fanned on it. The rookie from Kingston. Now McGinnis around the board, but the Blues will pitch in and get the puck, and they'll throw it to the net. Eaves didn't get it to the blue line, and it hopped out. Ryan Sutter puts it back inside the zone. Reinhardt runs into referee Kerry Frazier. McGinnis to center. Oh, Lubas crunched by Rick Mackler on a heavy check at center, but he got himself right back up. He had his body turned enough where he didn't take the full force of that check, I believe. Here's Eaves, 3-on-3 and an offside call.
Mike, I mentioned Mike Eaves earlier, and we were talking. I'd let it go back to you right when I was in the middle of something about Mike Eaves. I was talking about his conditioning. Now, we mentioned that this is his first game out of retirement, and I guess for any other player or coach would have to be concerned, but everybody to a man has told me what great physical shape this guy's in, and that was even before it was announced that he would be playing tonight. Day before yesterday and the day before that when I arrived here, and I didn't know who he was when he was on the ice because I hadn't seen him this year. And they said, make no mistake about it, if this guy gets the call for some reason, he will be physically ready to play. That shows, in my mind, quite a bit of dedication to the game when you haven't played a game all year and can step in the middle of the semifinals and play, and he's playing well.
Yeah, he's not looked out of step at all. Baxter back. Right behind the net, Baxter Baxter knocked down. A penalty coming up here. It'll be against the Calgary Flames. Baxter now runs into Eddie Beers. All right, here in Calgary, the power play will belong to the Blues. It's Calgary 4, it's St. Louis nothing.
Hamburger places think it's a snap to make chicken nuggets. But when it comes to doing chicken right, they're just going around in circles. At Kentucky Fried Chicken, making great tasting chicken is all we do. Our nuggets are made with our secret blend of 11 herbs and spices, and they taste great. So for nuggets done right, come to the chicken experts. Anyone else is just along for the ride.
Kentucky Fried Chicken, we do chicken right.
Well, there's that babyface guy again that we talked about. Chopper Baxter.
Oh, he's as quiet a guy off the ice and as pleasant as you'll ever want to meet.
And that's very common,
yep,
too, isn't it? A quiet guy off the ice. You get Paul Baxter in a hockey uniform. He's right at the bottom of your screen now. And gosh, he went down first there. I'm not sure whether the penalty was for holding before that, but Baxter, as well as holding, can wood chop with the best of them.
4-0. The Flames lead. You would think the Blues need to get on the board here, especially on the road. And they'll put it in behind the net for Bernie Federko. Federko out in front. Hunter's there. And I think his shot was blocked. It comes left point. Brian Benny, the young defenseman, to Federko, now to Natras. That's on target. Vernon looks for the puck. Does he have it in his glove? I think he does. Oh, there was some big doings coming up in the hockey scene, and let's go to Jim Houston right now.
All right, Mike, let's just bring the audience up to date on what we're doing and where we're going. Tomorrow night, Game 3 in the Montreal-New York series, 7:30 start from Madison Square Garden. Wednesday night, we'll be there again for Game 4 as the Rangers try and come back. That's an 8 o'clock start. Thursday night from St. Louis, the Blues will go home against Calgary. Looks like it might be a split, although this game has got a long ways to go. That's an 8:30 start. We'll be with you right until the Stanley Cup has been presented on ESPN.
Thank you, Jim. Among the sea of red here at the Saddle Dome. Boy, this crowd really came alive during the series against Edmonton, and I'm telling you, I've been in this building many times, and there have been times when you literally would think you were a revival meeting of some type. It has been so quiet.
Well, a revival meeting before the revival starts anyway.
That's what I'm saying. Very, very quiet, or they were reading and keeping themselves busy. But that's not been the case in the playoffs this year. They love the Flames. And Hunter. Whoop it into the slot. Knocked aside again. Jamie McCowan. Natras to beat. McCowan. Pushed away from the net. Mark Hunter goes after it. With a minute to go in the penalty to Paul Baxter. And even on the power play, the Flames have been able to play equal strength against the St. Louis Blues. They've just had the domination on the game, and it's been their night so far. Okunlu back to Neil Sheehy. And it'll come off the boards, back in behind. Greg Millis. Nothing to replace Rick Walmsley after the Flames scored their 4th goal, 1:25 of period number 2. Doug Risebrough with 2 goals tonight. Joey Mullen and Manny McDonald have gotten the others. But it's pushed back into the Flames zone and banked off the boards. 17 seconds to go in the penalty. Lead pass for Brian Sutter. Reeds with a good effort to keep it in. Reeds trying to put it on the net to Sutter. He tried to give and go back. Can't connect. Hand pass call. Penalty is over 2. And now they'll be back to a full complement of players on both sides.
Well, they made that one look easy, didn't they, Mike?
They sure did.
You know, Jacques Demers was quoted in the newspapers in describing his team. He said, "We put on a mask before the game, and by the end of the game, we still have the same face on. Whether we're up 3-0 or down 3-0, you look at our players, and you can't tell the difference." Well, he's right. He's right tonight. It's now 4-0, and the St. Louis Blues don't seem to have changed very much about their style. And you'd be amazed at the number of times that they've been down and continue to play the same style and peck away and peck away and peck away and end up coming back and making a game of it.
I think that's kind of a reflection of the coach himself, Jacques Demers.
Yep, even-tempered. He doesn't want to, he doesn't abandon ship. He sets a goal, sets a game plan out there, and sticks to it. And that in itself, I think, is a valuable asset, because so many coaches, especially young coaches, will set out that game plan, and after something happens during the game, and I've played for coaches like this, it doesn't take much. All of a sudden, the whole game plan is just flushed away, And the players really don't know what they're supposed to do then. And it's very disconcerting for the players when the coach does that. And Jacques doesn't do that to his team.
Now McGinnis picked off by Gilmore, and they put a soft shot on the net that Vernon knocked aside. Millen's going to come out and play the puck to Rob Ramage, the veteran defenseman. Ramage, a former member of the Colorado Rockies and the New Jersey Devils, coming over to the Blues in exchange for 2 first-round draft choices. Doug Gilmore. And a fight breaks out. Brian Sutter and one of the Flames, it's Joel Otto, and they're separated before they can even throw a punch. Now Sutter does try a whack away, and Otto comes with a right hand.
Well, if you wanted to test your shoulder out, that's Brian Sutter, number 11 for the Blues, who has a bad shoulder. If you really wanted to put the shoulder to the test, Mike Lang, you might as well choose a guy like Joel Otto, all 6'4", 220 pounds of him. Well, they got them broken up. It's the Flames 4 and St. Louis nothing.
If you think of all the things that are tough in our world, you're bound to think of this. Big Ford pickups. They have a tradition of toughness. They're built Ford tough.
Get 7.9% financing on new Ford full-size pickups at your participating Ford dealer now.
Well, there's the big guy from Bemidji State. What a success story he's been, Mike. You know, he played level 2 hockey in college and was signed as a free agent by the Atlanta. There I go again with that Atlanta Flames syndrome. Maybe because I spent 5 years there with an A on my chest and only 2 years here with that C on my chest. But the Calgary Flames signed a number of free agents, and Joel Otto was one of them. And boy, what a workhorse he was against Edmonton. Here's a look at the start of it. Sutter hooking him, and Otto there jabbing back and forth at the upper left of your screen. And boy, Brian Sutter was the aggressor first. Joel Otto's kind of a big teddy bear in a lot of ways. He's really not that prone to fighting for a big guy, but that man is Brian Sutter. And he almost looks as if he's wincing, wondering if he's in a little pain shoulder-wise. See the size of his shoulder pads. He's wearing Don's football shoulder pads that some of the Chicago Blackhawks wear.
Well, Sutter got a minor penalty, apparently, and Otto must have received a minor penalty and a major because somebody has gone to serve a penalty. He's gone to the locker room. We're not hearing the penalty announcement very well here, and our apologies to you. But it does not affect the play on the ice.
No, we're all full strength.
They must have picked up coincidental minors, and Otto picked up maybe an extra 10 minutes on the misconduct penalty issued by Kerry Frazier. Tonelli, big collision there. Pair of number 27s, Nantrus and Tonelli. Wickenheiser gets it out of danger. If you're looking at this game, and it's still a long way to go, we're halfway home in regulation time. The Flames, you would think, just have to keep pressing the attack to show St. Louis that, hey, this is the way it's going to be from now on. They can't really let up.
No question. No question. They have the Blues backing up. Their best defense right now is to play in St. Louis's end.
Reinsbauer looking for the hat trick, and he put it off Newman's glove. Wickenheiser slammed to the boards by John Tonelli. And that really has been what the Flames have done here in the second period. They just have continually moved the puck into St. Louis ice and kept it there for the better part of the period. Offside coming up here, and it's called. Now we're down to 9 minutes and 29 seconds left. And if you're the Blues, somewhere along the line, you've got to say, hey, we've got to exert ourselves, too, because we're going home now for the next 2.
Sure, and they have accomplished, in a sense, what they wanted to do here already in winning one of these 2 games to try and shift the home ice advantage back to them. But, you know, their style, I guess, can be described as a rope-a-dope style. It goes back to the Foreman-Ali fight of years ago, but there comes a time when you have to bounce off the ropes and attack. And in a 4-0 game, you can rope-a-dope yourself into unconsciousness, and that's what the Blues seem to be doing right now. But make no mistake about it, this is a different Flames team than they faced the other night. This is the straits, the dire straits that the St. Louis Blues are in right now are as much a result of the way Calgary is playing as a result of the way they themselves are playing.
Federko slams one wide. The Blues really have not used the body too effectively against Calgary tonight at all. Of course, they've got a tough job there. They're kind of outbound. Here's a shot from the right side by Eaves, and he hit the side of the net. Now whip to center, and here's Federko. Poke check. Put back into the Calgary, into the rink, and Reinhardt quickly gets it out. That's one thing the Flames have done very well tonight, is getting the puck out of their own zone Peflinski over to Joey Munn. He has room. LaValle let him go. Now he comes in. He's hit by Ramage. And Mark Hunter put it back to the red line. We got bodies down in the St. Louis Inn, an offside call. All right, here in Calgary, the Olympic Saddledome, the score. The Flames 4 and the Blues nothing.
This is the arena where the most competitive game on earth kicks off each morning. American business. You and I are in this game. We play to win. And we deserve an airline that plays to win. Northwest Orient. They've got the guts to put their service up against any competitor and keep score. You'll find the score in your paper. But I'll tell you right now, people who know the score, go Northwest Orient.
Shots are now more than doubled here in this game now. The Flames have 28, the Blues with 12.
They've actually closed the gap a little bit, Mike. They were triple a while back. It was 28-9 at one point, so they've closed it a little bit. Haven't done much to the score yet. That's still 4-0.
Doug Wickenheiser looking for some open people. Eddie Beers on his left wing. Stevie McCowan, the Ohio State product, worked it ahead of center to Colin Patterson. And Quinn took his pass, but he is checked. The Blues set up shop in their own end. Brian Benning, the young 20-year-old defenseman out of Portland in the Western Hockey League. It comes left wing to Wickenheiser. He'll blast one. And Vernon, who has had an easy night so far with just a couple of exceptions here in this game. Ramage spun off his skates. And the puck trickles into Calgary ice again. Another Blue goes down and play goes on. Gilmore whacking Quinn with a stick. He'll get a penalty for that. He retaliated as Gilmore put the stick right into Quinn. And they'll be looking for Doug Gilmore, I would think.
Boy, and it'll be interesting to see where he made contact with Danny Quinn. If you hit him in the face and cut him, that's an automatic 5 minutes.
I think it was more in the midsection as I saw it, Bill.
Was it?
Just whacked him with a two-hander right in the midsection. He was knocked down by Quinn and then got back up and took it into his own hands.
Well, let's see if we can get a look at it here. It should be. Well, that was one spinning fall by one of the Blues.
That was Gilmore who went down. He was hooked.
Here we go, right there.
Yeah, he put the two-hander right into it. So the penalty to the Blues. And when we return, the Flames will have a power play. The score, Calgary 4 and St. Louis nothing.
At some places, getting tender chicken isn't always easy. And what you may wind up with is one tough bird. At Kentucky Fried Chicken, we start with plump, tender chicken. Then we cook it the Colonel's special way, so it's tender and delicious, bite after bite after bite. So for great tasting chicken you can sink your teeth into, come to the chicken experts. Because when it comes to tender chicken, ours is a real knockout.
Kentucky Fried Chicken, we do chicken right.
Slashing the infraction called against that man, Doug Gilmore of the St. Louis Blues. Mike Lang, that'll give the Calgary Flames yet another opportunity to try and widen this 4-0 margin.
Well, they have one power play goal tonight. That came late in period number 1 off Jolie Mullet's stick. And their power play has really worked well here this evening. They've moved the puck around against the Blues. Here's McDonald, right side. Millen came out. He shoots it. Went up the side of the goal. Millen came out to Campbell. Here's McDonald out of the corner. Right point to McGinnis. Now Steve Bozick sets it up to Reinhardt. Push it wide. Tinelli behind the net. Johnsonelli to Steve Bozick. Goes to Reinhardt from between the legs of one of the defensemen. They're moving the puck really well. Here's Bozick. And a penalty coming up against the Calgary Flames. It'll even up. Lee Norwood was pulled down around the net. A hooking call. And that'll even things up. All right, let's go down and find Jim Houston right now.
Okay, Mike, let's remind our viewers that if it's too cold, like it is here, to get out on a golf course, the closest you're going to get is ESPN. And we have the Dominion Senior Invitational coming up Friday, Saturday, Sunday, May 9th, 10th, and 11th from the Dominion Country Club, San Antonio, Texas. Join us for that on ESPN. No seniors in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Consider these numbers. 4 teams left. 15 rookies playing regularly amongst the 4 teams, and only 6 players left in the playoffs who have won the Stanley Cup. There'll be a lot of fresh names on the big mug this year.
Boy, and I'll tell you, that's the thrill of a lifetime, is when you can get your name in the Stanley Cup. And as is the case in every sport, the biggest thing that the players want when they win a championship after it's all said and done is the ring. That is the most important thing to the player.
I happen to notice, of course, he has not won a Stanley Cup championship, but I think 3 NCAA championships in college hockey. Bob Johnson has the big championship ring on his right hand, I believe. Here's Lee Norwood down on equal strength, and he'll blast one in on Mike Vernon. Working here against the Blues, who have not been able to score against him. Neil Sheehy, 4-0 Calgary. Deflected back to Paul Reinhart, and he's a veteran who played in Atlanta before the Flames came here. Eaves with a nice move. He's knocked down by Ramage, and play goes on. Eaves in the corner, trying to wind it back to Reinhart. Ramage had it, but he gave it away to Sheehy. Now Bernie Federko will skate with the puck to Ramage. Now back over to the left wing to Lee Norwood. And an offside call. Ramage ahead on the right wing.
Boy, you got to be impressed with Mike Eaves tonight. I mean, gosh, the guy's getting all kinds of ice time, as is Danny Quinn. Danny didn't play last game. Mike Eaves hasn't played all year. And they're logging a lot of ice time and doing a heck of a job for the Flames.
There you look at Jacques Demers, coach of the St. Louis Blues. Spent 8 years in the World Hockey Association.
Did you know, Mike, that he suited up for a game in the World Hockey Association when they were short of players once, and his one comment was, I think I was a little overweight. I think he actually took his equipment off before the game started, but he warmed up and his name was on the scoring sheet.
Well, they were down to 12 players, 11 or 12, and he suited up and put his name on the sheet. Got on the ice for one shift. They went back in and the bench, and they went back in and changed his clothes and came out and coached the club, and they won the game 7-2.
Yeah. It was against Edmonton. It was against, he said it was very interesting being on the ice warming up against Dave Semenko and Wayne Gretzky.
If I'm not mistaken, Rial Cloutier had a big night for the Quebec Nordiques, who were then in the WHA. And they jam it up to the left of the Calgary net. Worked around the McGinnis. Here's another penalty coming up.
Well, the Flames don't want to let this one get away on them. You know, they're starting to take penalties rather easily right now, and it's not the sign of as much discipline as I'm sure Bob Johnson would want them to exhibit with a 4-0 lead. There's no reason why they have to play stupid right now. They can retaliate if they have to because they have a lead. They really don't want to take anything from the St. Louis Blues, but you know, St. Louis has some very talented players. Bernie Federko had over 100 points this year for the 4th time in his career. He's the only St. Louis player ever to do that. When he sets up in his office behind the Calgary net where he likes to get to, they can be very dangerous on the power play.
Well, this is a 2-man advantage because Stanley has time remaining on his penalty, 37 seconds. Berezan goes in. Tripping the call.
And I'll tell you one thing, if they let St. Louis get back into this game because of lack of discipline, that, above everything, will upset Bob Johnson.
Brian Benning going to Ramage. Benning, whose brother plays with the Toronto Maple Leafs. Goes to Ramage. They can be patient here. They have some time to work with. Benning center point around the net for Federko. The pass was too hard. Yeah, I think he tried to carry him off the boards for him. And Brian Benning appears to be a pretty good skating defenseman. Now Ramage, good pass. Gilmore right side. Slows it up, and he gave it away to McGinnis. Oh, Gilmore had the right idea, but he simply just popped it up.
No,
so here you go.
Just not sharp passes. You know, there's no reason to make tiny little weak little passes in a case like that. You have to make them crisp. I mean, you have 2 more men than they do out there.
Penalty to Nelly's over. Here's shot by Benning. It went off Vernon. Right up in the air, but not in the net. And Ramage can't stop it at the right point. 1:10 to go on the Berezan penalty. Calgary shorthanded. The Blues trying to get on the board. But only 1 goal here in this period. Ramage shot it right off Mike Eaves and Jamie McCowan. Ramage lost the edge on a skate, it appeared. He just lost his balance. Back comes Gilmore. 2-on-2 with Federko. Zigzag drop pass to Federko. Bernie Federko lays it behind the goal. Natras at the right point, going to Gilmore. To Rick Natras, wrist shot on the way, blocked in front. How many times do we see that in the Edmonton series? The Flames defense blocking shots in front. They really jamming up in front of that goal. Boy, there's bodies all over the ice. The Flames are really clearing the front of the net, and it's dumped away.
Let me pick out one guy that's playing a completely different game than he did in Game 1. Al McGinnis is playing a far tougher game. He has a tendency to want to play the puck most of the time, but boy, he's toughened up tonight. Very good job killing penalties for the Flames.
Natras on the final rush to Dave Barr. We've got an injured player down, Rick Natras. As the whistle sounds, Rick Natras down in the Calgary zone. 9 seconds left. He actually was purchased outright. He's going to get himself up, I think, here from the Montreal Canadiens at the start of the season. Yeah, I think that's what impressed me so much against the Edmonton Oilers, the way the Flames played. And here you take a look at the action. All right, Natras back up, and let's go to Jim Houston.
All right, besides checking in at Sports Center and the Bud Light Hockey News in our second intermission, I think you'll enjoy a feature we have on 3 Calgary Flames that play on the same line. Lanny McDonald, Doug Risebrough, and John Tonelli. Between them, they have 33 years of NHL experience. They figured in 3 goals tonight. We woke them up from their over 30s nap yesterday to do a feature on them. And the not yet over the hill gang still playing well for the Flames. Look for that in the second intermission.
I want to know what's wrong with being over 30.
Yeah, for that matter,
Yeah.
me too.
Yeah. Here it's lofted back to the net. And Reinhart comes up with it. Back out. Risebrough. He has 2 of the 4 goals for the Flames here tonight. And an offside call. In this game, really, it almost anymore, if you're over 30, they can't trust you because you just rarely see anybody that plays a game past 30. And I think that's going to change. I think with the conditioning really getting much better in all sports, I think you're going to see players playing a longer span and going back to the way hockey was maybe 10 or 12 years ago.
I don't know, Mike. I would think that the mentality of the general managers and the owners would have to change a little bit. You know, they have this idea now that when you hit 30 that you're just about obsolete unless you're a very special player. And you got to understand something else. The 18-year-old player, look at Herb Ragland tonight. I mean, he's playing in the Stanley Cup semifinals as an 18-year-old. Players seem to develop, in my mind, a lot quicker than
All right,
before.
I'll give you another thought, though.
Well, I'm not going to listen.
No, listen. All right, the Islanders built their franchise into a Stanley Cup, Montreal with all the draft and everything, and now people are starting to say, well, maybe we can do some trading and make a club. Washington's a pretty good example. The Flyers are a pretty good example of trades. We see changes come along in the game, and I don't know. I just don't think the day of the player that's 30 years old is all done. I think there's a chance for him to come back. So we disagree a little bit. I hope it's not the last time.
No, it won't be. I'll guarantee you that.
Flames up 4-0. Going to ask you another question here in a minute, Bill. We have covered it a couple of times during the game. Here's Wickenheiser, knocked aside by Paul Baxter. Risebrough will find John Tonelli. Boy, he's a tireless worker. It's been a pretty good year for him. The Islanders, of course, eliminated by the Washington Capitals, and Tonelli is still playing hockey in the playoffs once again. Baxter. And he puts it in the offside call. Talking about the Flames, the key to why they're winning this game and doing so well tonight.
Other than the tangible things, Mike, which we are looking at, the fact that they had a chance to prepare. Bob Johnson had a day to coach them, and Bob Johnson admits that I don't coach behind the bench. He said, I coach during practice. So they came into this game without the memories of Edmonton that were so fresh of playing that first game 48 hours after that, and they're playing much smarter. Bob Johnson has them not taking chances in their own end, dumping the puck out, dumping the puck in the other end. Back there's a dump right now. Let's see if they get it back. That's the thing that they're doing, playing a much smarter game, letting the puck do the work. They were trying to do the work with their bodies last night, or night before last, and beating the St. Louis defenders. Now they're trying to move the puck in by itself.
Under 2.5 minutes left here in period number 2. A shot right on Vernon from a bad angle, but he'll make the stick save. And Paul Reinhart rushes up. Dump it off of Mike Eaves, and Eaves is flying tonight. He got around the valley. Norwood, though, slams him into the corner board. And we've got now Ragland and Jim Peplinski getting the sticks up into one another way across from the play in the corner.
Well, if young Herb Ragland wants to try his first fight in the National Hockey League, I will guarantee you that Jim Peplinski would be a major handful for the young 18-year-old. You know, talking about what the Flames are doing differently Stanley, Mike, there are basically three ways as we take a look at this action. Ragland's got Poklinski's hand and won't let him go, so Pepe just said, listen, pal, if you want to hang on, why don't you eat my left hand for a while I'm tugging on you? But there are basically three ways to get the puck into the offensive zone. You can pass it in, you can carry it in, or you can shoot it in. Now in game one, the Flames were trying to carry it in, and you watch this game when the play goes down to the St. Louis end. Very often there are 5 blue sweaters stretched across the blue line. So that would be the least effective way of moving the puck in, carrying it. The other two ways, passing it in or shooting it in, would be better. Passing it in still isn't that ideal because of those 5 guys across the blue line. They tried to do that the other night. So what have they gone to tonight? Now, they slipped a little bit in the second period, but the biggest reason they opened up the big lead in the first was that they were shooting it in, not carrying it or passing it in.
The penalties. Ragland picks up a minor penalty for holding Peplinski for high sticky. And here are the Blues. Wrist shot off the glove of Vernon. It wasn't on the net. Wickenheiser settles it. Nice pass to Ramage. He'll get rid of it in a hurry. It goes in. The Blues have scored. It was deflected in. And St. Louis gets on the board here late in period number 2. That's a big goal for the Blues.
Well, you're right about the fact, too, Mike, that it was deflected in. There's only 1 minute and 45 seconds to go in the second period. Great time for the Blues to get on the board. Ramage makes a nice play and just trying to get the puck in the net. Watch the crowd, the bottom right of your screen. Look at the crowd in front of Mike Vernon. I still can't see who that tip, Mike Lang. It hit something and went in, I think, maybe even under Mike Vernon's arm. We'll see if we can pick it up here.
Hit a stick somewhere on the way in.
I think it hit Eddie Beers. Well, they've announced Rob Ramage, but I think from the looks of that second replay that it may have hit one of his teammates in front of the net. It's academic at this point, and players don't really care who scores them when you get this far into the semifinals.
Well, the Blues are on the board. They give the goal to Rob Ramage. We'll see if that will change it all, because it did appear to hit a stick on the way in. Now, it might have been a Flames defenseman who had the blade out, or somebody in front of the net. But nonetheless, the Blues have scored. And here's a low wrist shot that missed the goal. Rick Natras settles it down. Work back to center. Well, Jacques Demers brought on Greg Mellon. He shut the door in the Flames, and the Blues have picked one up here. We're down to 1 minute 15 to go in the second period. Brian Sutter goes for it. He overskates. Lanny McDonald drags it out. Pass to Johnson-Ellie. Deakins high, went to the left wing circle, shot it. The stop was made by Millen. Nice little move by Tonelli, but the shot stopped. He gets it again, his drive, and Millen with a stick down low to stop John Tonelli. Now back in the Blues. And they can't make it happen. 47 seconds to go in period number 2. Charlie Bourgeois. McCowan passing to Al McGinnis. Blasting shot from outside the blue line. Hit the glass. Mike Eaves puts one right on it. Millen's going to glove it. He'll stop it. Now sweep it away to Gilmore. That was a dangerous play there by Millen. And the Flames do have the puck. They put it in front. Deflected. Where is it? Millen made the stop with his right leg. Pavis trying to clear. Can't. Sheehy shoots one. And Millen got the stick on that. And that all resulted from Millen giving the puck away. Into the right wing corner it goes. LaValle. 8 seconds to go. And finally they clear. Now, Millen would love to have that play back, but it did not cost him a goal as time will run out. And it's 4-1 Calgary at the end of 2, Bill Clement. Well, an even period as far as goal scoring is concerned. The Flames dominated again for the better part of it, but the Blues did come back.
I don't think the Flames came out with the same. I shouldn't say that. They started the period the way they left off in the first period. As the period progressed, St. Louis was able to take it away from them a little more. The Flames started to get a little fancy. I know Bob Johnson's going to be in the dressing room saying, come on, guys, back to first period play.
All right, the score at the end of 2. The Calgary Flames lead the St. Louis Blues 4-1, and we'll have more for you. The second intermission in just a moment.
It's a tough one, and it's also all Calgary's, even though St. Louis did get on the board at the 18-15 mark. 4-1 at our second intermission. The Flames on top in this Game 2 of the Campbell Conference Finals. Shots on goal, by the way, in that second period. St. Louis outshooting Calgary 12-10. And Calgary, though, still has the advantage through 2 periods of 30-18. I guess the question when you look at Some of the older guys that make it happen for the Calgary Flames. What is 94 years old, has won 8 Stanley Cups, and has played in 314 playoff games? Well, the answer is the combination of Lanny McDonald, Doug Risebrough, and John Tonelli. Chris Cuthbert has a look at this trio that has added so much this year to the Calgary Flames attack.
The youngest has 4 Stanley Cup rings, courtesy of the New York Islanders. He's 29 years old. The center iceman in the trio also has 4 rings, those from the Montreal Canadiens. He's 32. And at 33, the oldest has no rings, but is probably staring his best chance at getting one right in the eye. And all 3 have different tools for survival.
I'm a competitor, and I like to think of myself as being a competitor, and certainly sometimes that expresses itself verbally. I know the referees have indicated to me, why do you yell at me so much? And I say, that's just the tone of voice I always carry. You should be in the dressing room. It's the same thing, so.
While Risebrough's competitive nature manifests itself in words, Lanny McDonald's is displayed in goals.
Back, tremendous end-to-end action. To Risebrough, to McDonald, trying to score!
3 years ago, Lanny scored 66 times.
You always feel you can do it again, and I even feel, you know, for next year that there's still a chance that I can come back and score 66 again. And I think if you don't have that confidence in yourself, you know, you'll never succeed. Maybe 66 is a little out of the question, but not 65.
By contrast, John Tonelli was always a grinder until last year. He had his best season ever, but when he was dealt to Calgary, his insecurities surfaced.
That's one thing that I found out when I got traded, how much I love the game and how much I appreciated it. You know, I thought my immediate reaction was, oh boy, my career's over. But when I came to the Flames, it's a new career for me. It's a new start.
And his old career is really tough to forget.
I remember all the ups and downs, you know, especially the ups when we won 4 Stanley Cups. I remember all the sacrifices. I remember some of the key plays that my teammates made to help us win the Stanley Cup. I remember guys like Dave Langeman and you know, Clark Gillies and Bobby Bourne coming up big, and you know, those kind of things I'll never forget.
Risebrough won't forget either. In 8 years with Montreal, he won 4 cups under Scotty Bowman.
I thought that team was as well coached as anybody in hockey, and they rewarded hard work, and they appreciated that from the players, and the benefits fell to some of the other younger guys like myself in those days.
For these 3, hockey is serious business, but anything else, well, that's another story.
Clark Gillies he works for Impact on Hunger on Long Island, and we were trying to raise food for the hungry, you know, in and around the area. And when Big Clark comes up to you and tells you, you know, I want you to perform, you got to get up there and perform, or he'll do something else to you.
Not many remember when Lanny didn't have his mustache as number 7 for the Leafs, but today it's how he's recognized.
Well, I think it's just kind of a trademark that got started a long time ago and just kind of grew and grew. Not only the trademark, but the mustache. And it's something that is a big part of me, part of my personality, everything. And I'd never shave it off.
The old-timers are ready for a first cup or a 5th.
And the senior citizens are at the heart of the Calgary attack tonight. Doug Risebrough with 2 early goals. John Tonelli has an assist so far, and Lanny McDonald with 1 goal tonight. We're at the first intermission with a 4-1 lead for Calgary, trying to even this thing before they send it on back to the arena in St. Louis. 4-1, Flames on top. We'll check in with SportsCenter, then check our second period highlights at the intermission. Over the regular season, the Calgary Flames were the number 2 offensive team in terms of gross number of goals in the league, right behind Edmonton, and they have kicked out the Jams tonight. Those 3 first-period goals. They waited only 85 seconds in the just completed second period to get things going. Doug Risebrough wins this faceoff. Gets it over to John Tonelli, number 27, who will take the shot. Walmsley with a save. But Lanny McDonald on the rebound, and the senior citizens getting all together on that one. Walmsley would leave the nets. Greg Millen comes on. McDonald carries it in. Millen with a glove save as it rolls through the crease. Walmsley has had the magic against the Flames, but not tonight. Mike Vernon, the rookie, has been tested. Pavis. Vernon with a save. Sutter carries it behind the net. Rob Ramage, number 5, is in front. But Jamie McCown will stop it on defense. So Vernon doing well himself and also getting help from his back line. With 1:45 left in the second, Ramage from the point might have been tipped in. There was certainly a screen in front of Vernon. But to recap what we've seen so far, Risebrough got Calgary out at the 8:51 mark of period one. Sheehy with the assist. That same combination 10 minutes later. And then with 3 seconds to go in period one, Joey Mullen on the power play. Otto and McInnes assisting. At the first intermission, the Flames led it 3-0. Lanny McDonald, 1:25, as we said, into this period. Made it a 4-0 game. Tonelli and Risebrough getting assists. They've added one now for Risebrough. Millen came onto the nets, and then Rob Ramage with the goal for St. Louis. Wickenheiser with the assist at 18:15, so we stand at 4-1. Again, those reminders, we've got 2 games upcoming over the early part of this week, and they are critical ones for the New York Rangers, who have been behind. They were pummeled in Game 2 by the Washington Capitals, then lost Game 3 and were behind in that series. So they're trying to come from behind against Montreal. Game 2 is tomorrow evening at 7:30 Eastern Time. Then Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, we will have Game 3. So St. Louis, which has played above 500 on the road. Let's now get back to the Saddle Dome and catch the third period. Can the Blues get something going? We will see. Let's get back to Bill and Mike.
All right, we welcome you back to the Olympic Saddle Dome. This will be the home of the 1988 Olympics. And boy, that fever has certainly caught on in this area.
Well, it sure has. And I moved away from here. I lived here for 2 years and moved away in 1982. And it seemed like such a long way off in 1982. But all of a sudden, it's 1986.
I just want to make a point. It's not the Summer Olympics. I guarantee you that.
No.
It snowed a little today here, too. A little flurry. We've seen some cold weather up this way. We had flurries for the Calgary-Edmonton final that day, and it's cool today. It does warm up.
But, you know, the joke is, well, what do you do during the summer? And the guy said, well, if it's a nice day, I like to get around or golf in. That's it in Calgary. The first summer I moved here, I arrived on August 3rd, and I don't think it rose above 50 degrees during the day all of August. And, boy, I resented that right away. I felt as if somebody had torn my summer away from me.
Well, the Blues, of course, battling back with a late goal on period number 2, and they'll have to try and get an early one here to get back into it.
They actually, Mike, outshot the Flames in that second period, 12-10. Now the totals are 30-18 shot-wise, but the Blues still with a major, major task in front of them to try to catch up. But the Flames will be tested now in the area of discipline. I'm sure Bob Johnson has said to them in the dressing room, we have plenty to win. Let's play smart and make sure that we dominate these guys for the next 20 minutes.
Mike Vernon, the goaltender for the Calgary Flames, his counterpart Greg Millen in the net for the Blues. He replaced Rick Walmsley in period number 2. And here we go, period number 3 underway. Lee Norwood has the puck, lost it for a moment, but Doug Gilmour directs it back to center. John Tonelli flipped it up in the air. Coming right to Lanny McDonald. One-arming that play, so strong. Look at him move in. Look at him trying to make the play. He centers it. And now a fight breaks out. It's Mark Hunter and John Tonelli involved in a scrap. Mark Hunter of the Blues and John Tonelli of the Calgary Flames.
Well, there's no question who was the aggressor in that fight, Mike. John Tonelli got his gloves off about 6 seconds ago once they were on the ice. Hunter let him have it from the side. They were jousting in front of the net. You know, you talk about Lanny McDonald and how strong he is. You can't imagine how strong the man was in that particular play that we just saw that he beat Rob Ramage. Boy, that in itself is an indication of how strong Lanny McDonald is. He's not nearly as big as Rob Ramage, but was able to scoot around him and get it in front of the net.
How many times have we seen in Lanny McDonald's career him make that play, one-arm it, and they're still battling one another?
Look at what Mark Hunter is trying to do there with John Tonelli's left hand, maybe break a finger or two. I'll tell you, when you get into those close situations in these playoffs, they can be far more dangerous than they look. Guys will end up biting other people. People have had to take stitches in their fingers, in their face, and when you get in close like that, and there's so much at stake in these semifinals, there'll even be more at stake in the finals. You can actually do more damage than you would think if the referees don't tie up your hands. Hunter there might have been trying to unpeel John Tonelli's hand so he could just grab a finger and snap it. Believe me, it's a very, very violent sport. You know,
All right, here in Calgary, at the Saddle Dome, the Flames 4 and the Blues 1.
Excuse me, I'm looking
a
for...
tall, cold, frosty one, big foamy head, rich and creamy. No. 3 A&Ws.
root beer.
A&W root beer. It's got that frosty mug taste.
For yourself a frosty one. A&W.
No, huh? No. What do you guys do for a living, huh?
Well, we've got a piece of glass that has worked itself free in the penalty box. Into the Blues penalty box. Here's the announcement on the penalty.
And 5 minutes for fighting. To the Flames, number 27, John Tonelli. 2 minutes for slashing, 2 for roughing. Time of the penalties, 22 seconds.
Ooh. Mark Hunter put St. Louis in a hole there with 2 and 5. Tonelli 2 and 2. And for at least 3 minutes, the Flames will have a man advantage.
Well, tomorrow night, of course, right here on ESPN, the New York Rangers will be trying to get back into that series with the Montreal Canadiens. They'll be back home at Madison Square Garden as the Rangers try and do it again. A little miracle on 33rd Street.
Yeah. These penalties, Mike, and for everybody at home, bring the total in this game to 29 penalties and 91 minutes in penalties. So the game has been far more physical than game 1, and that might be one of the keys to the Flames, too. When you come out and play physically, and the Flames did so much of that against the Edmonton Oilers, and they did so little of that in game 1 here night before last, that they said we want to come out and establish our hitting game as well as do some smarter things with the puck, and they have definitely done that. Although in this particular case, it was Mark Hunter that was the aggressor, but a lot of the penalties, as you can see, Bob Johnson trying to lay out a little format for some of his players. A lot of the aggressiveness has been initiated by the Flames tonight. Most of it.
A similar situation you would see in basketball where they sit down for the timeout and draw a game plan, maybe on a set play. Bob Johnson's been known to keep a lot of notes while he goes during the course of a game and use them later on.
Yeah, he always carries his pad with him, and sometimes assistant coach Bob Murdoch doesn't. When things are going good, the guys will make fun of something like that. You know, the players sitting on the bench, they'll start to kid the coach about his encyclopedia of hockey that he carries around with him, all of his own notes and Bob Murdoch's notes. Nobody says very much when things are bad.
And Quinn went into the penalty box to serve one of the minor penalties to Tonelli. He'll be able to come back on. And right now, they're at 4 aside for the next 2 minutes, and then the power play on the major penalty, too, to Mark Hunter, which would mean if the Flames scored, Hunter would not come out of the box. Here's Fedorko going right wing. Bourgeois, slap shot, and that missed. LaValle back in the corner. Fedorko working with it. I think the Blues realize here they've got to go to the offense because they're going to be shorthanded in a minute 25. They're going to try and get a goal here. They go to Fedorko on the slot. He's very well covered. Reinhart putting pressure on him. Now left for LaValle. He'll look for Fedorko in front. Can't go that way. Goes behind the net instead, and Reinhart shadowing Fedorko right now. Fedorko somehow behind that goal, and he couldn't find the open man LaValle, and here is Al McGinnis. Skating well is McGinnis. 53 to go on the Tonelli minor penalty, the first one. McGinnis sidesteps the check. He'll come in front of Risebrough. Deflection and hat trick for Doug Risebrough. And it's 5-1 Flames.
Well, Doug Risebrough can thank the man with the puck right now, Al McGinnis, for this goal. What a move he puts on a St. Louis Blues near the center of the ice. And he just waits for Risebrough to go to the net. Risebrough heads from his right to his left so he can avoid the check and just chips it in between Greg Milne's legs, I believe. Just takes a little chip here at it. Yeah, right in between Greg Milne's legs. And boy, that's thrilling during regular season to get a hat trick, Mike Lang. But when you can do it in a playoff situation, it's a thrill and a half. Nobody deserves it more than number 8 for the Calgary Flames, Doug Risebrough. What a tower of power he is. in endorsing the work ethic for this team. He works as hard as anybody. Nice to see the grinders get a hat trick now and again. It's usually the guys with the good hands. Well,
nice to see those guys over 30 doing it, too.
There you go. There you go. I'll have to give them a little 3 cheers after the game.
Only 2 hats came on the ice. Now, if that happened in St. Louis, it'd be covered. And in Madison Square Garden, they'll call the doctor.
Well, hats are about $29.95 a piece here. That's why.
Right. Here's Gilmore. He'll lead it back 5-1, and in 30 seconds, the Flames are going to go to the power play as it's played up into the crowd. And the score here at the Saddledome, the Flames 5 and the Blues 1.
From the beginning, food and ice have fought for space in your ice chest. And from the beginning, food has lost. That's why Gott decided to put ice in its place, in the lid, with our patented refreeze bottle. Just fill it, freeze it, then lock it in. It does the job without fighting your food for space. The refreeze ice chest, a technical knockout, only from Gott.
You're looking at Doug Risebrough, who has the hat trick and an assist tonight. He's figured on 4 of the 5 Calgary goals. He was with the Canadiens when they won 4 cups. And he not only played the same with the Canadiens, when he was a junior player, he was a great leader in junior, too. He has a lot of potential and leadership qualities.
Mike, you know who he rarely admitted, but I know somebody that was a relative of his, a distant relative, and he never wanted to admit this to anyone, especially because by that time he was in the NHL, but the player that he emulated, that he wanted to most be like, was Bobby Clark of the Philadelphia Flyers, and he's done a pretty good job of that. You know, they played a very similar style. He wasn't nearly as prolific as Bobby was scoring-wise, and Bob Clark won the Hart Trophy 3 times in his career, so not quite as dominant, but a reasonable facsimile, safe to say, of Bobby Clark. At least when you pick a guy like Bobby Clark to emulate, you stand for the right stuff. You know, you're picking a guy that really represents the right things. Hard work, dedication, team spirit, leadership, all of those good things.
21 seconds left on the Tonelli minor penalty, and then the Flames will go to a power play on the major call against Mark Hunter. And Joey Mullen lays it for Neil Sheehy. Sheehy gave it away to Doug Gilmore. He'll slow the attack down. Lost possession. Here comes Quinn on, so the power play is in effect right now for the Calgary Flames, and they lead 5-1, 17 and a half minutes to go in period number 3. What was the call there?
I think it was a delayed offside. The puck went in deep, and they were going to give them a chance to work it out, but things bogged down deep.
How do you look at the Ranger-Montreal series now with the Canadiens winning the first 2?
Boy, the momentum really is in Montreal's favor, especially the way it happened in Game 2. I don't know if I should be strong enough to say that the Rangers' bubble has burst, but I will say this. The climb will be monumental. The task is very, very large facing them. Montreal has really developed some momentum of late in the form of all kinds of different players, and Rangers are sagging a little bit, and when you're down 2-0, it never looks that good.
And the Canadiens have done it with a lot of young people. McGinnis shoots one. Phillips came out to challenge, but the shot went wide. If he had hit the post, he'd had himself a goal. Now Reinhart. Now play catch. Off to Eaves in front of Mullen. Oh, he had a man wide open, Quinn, and he couldn't get to it. McGinnis gave it away, and Rick Natras gives it up deck to center ice. Oh, the Flames finally getting one against Drake Millen, who came on after the Calgary Flames scored their first 4 goals. Millen can't stop it. Mullen around with 2:05 to go on the major penalty to Mark Hunter, but Bourgeois takes the heat out of a hot kitchen as he dumps it up ice. Now McGinnis up to Lanny McDonald. He'll glide his way into the Blues end. Ramey strips the puck off his stick. Where can he go? He's double teamed. Colin Patterson dumped on his wallet. And they battle forward in behind the goal. Norwood off the boards. McGinnis races in. Good play to keep it alive. And Lanny McDonald. Watch him work now. Lanny McDonald to McGinnis. Reinhart's wide open. He doesn't go that way. Now he does. Waited a bit too long to make that pass, McGinnis did. Allowed the Blues to come out of covering and force the errant pass back. A minute 15 to go on the penalty. Man advantage belongs to Calgary. They've got the extra man on the ice. Lanny Kenny McDonald behind the net. Got a man, Patterson, right in front. Instead goes to Reinhardt. Paul Reinhardt. To Steve Bozic. Bozic on the side to Patterson. He shoots and scores a power play goal.
As the panorama of red erupts once again here at the Saddle Dome. And when you commit yourself the way Greg Milne did here, you have to have confidence in the players around you to be defending the open men. Look at Milne way out. Nobody had the man on the slot. Colin Patterson scores. He got one in game one.
Assisted by number 26, Steve Bozak.
Boy, those are pretty easy when you have a chance to stop it, turn around, tee it up, and let it go at an empty net, Mike Lang. Players dream about goals like that, and that's an indication that St. Louis is not on their game plan at all, because they play so tight in front of their own net, and they've been so loose tonight. It's really been a combination of a complete breakdown by the Blues and a complete turnaround by the Flames. Blues, as Jacques Demers says, they put on a mask before the game. Doesn't matter what the score is, the mask is the same. If there was ever time to possibly change that mask, now would be the time. St. Louis really has done very little to change what they've done since the start of the game. And we have a partner here at the Saddle Dome. Let's see if we can find him, Jim Hewson.
All right, not hard to find down here at ringside watching this one. Talk about all-star performances from Doug Risebrough tonight. We've got an all-star performance coming up on the 11th of May, Sunday at 3 Eastern. It's NASCAR's Winston. 10 drivers, 9 all-star NASCAR winners from '85. Look for it May 11th at 3 o'clock.
That'll be on. You ever drive a race car?
Have I ever driven a race car? No, but I was a co-pilot in a jet boat race in a small river in Canada. I have a very close friend that's the world champion jet boat racer. I can imagine that being in a car is just about as scary as it is being in a boat. You're traveling 100 miles an hour, at least in the water, on a tiny little river. And being in a car, you reach speeds far higher than 100 miles an hour.
I want to remind you, too, that the power play goal by Patterson came on the major penalty to Hunter. He still has time left on his major. 45 seconds to go, so the power play still in effect for the Flames. And Vernon will leave it for Håkan Lou. It seems during the course of a 7-game series, for the most part, you'll usually find one game that is dominated by the other team, a blowout, if you will. And right now, it appears that Calgary is on the verge of doing just that. But sometimes it's better to get beat badly and then just kind of write the game off and come back and get yourself ready for the next one. Eaves on the right wing. As we said, Calgary will want to keep that momentum going, too. They'll want to score as many as they can to put the pressure and make the Blues think about game 3. McCowan. Blast to it. Now the penalty is over. And Dave Barr comes on. He was serving the penalty. Barr will take the puck in. Got around the check. Moves to the net. His shot. Vernon stopped that. Rebound in front. Cleared, but not out. Ramage a blast. Deflected save. Rebound. Score! Doug Gilmour for the Blues.
Well, that'll close the gap a little, Mike Lang, but not that much. Håkan Loob was the original defender on that rush by Dave Barr. He is still limping from something that happened to him in the second period. He's shaking his arm up and down. Now he was slashed in the second period. Here's Loob trying to pin Barr along the boards. Barr beats him. Loob never does recover. We're never going to see him come back into the play. Barr shoots. The rebound comes back. Now Gilmour is standing there, but the whole area is vacated. One Flame leaves Gilmour. Now all of a sudden there's Gilmour again on the left side. And it was Joey Mullen that was with Gilmour, let him go, and some sloppy defending by the Flames. And, you know, talk about one team winning big during a series. One thing that's negative about that for the team that wins big, Mike, is that you tend to lose a little bit of respect for the team that you've just trounced. You say, boy, that was easy enough. You know, we're just going to go out the next game and do it. So you lose that preparation edge. You lose that respect for your opponent. And very often the team that loses that big game comes back and wins the next game.
Well, Gilmour will get the goal. Ramage will get an assist on it. There'll be another one added, too. And at center ice, here come the Flames. 6-2 now, Calgary leads. In the third period at the Saddle Dome in Alberta. Ramage, oh, what a shot he took there.
Boy, that just missed. That, if he had been on net, that gave Mike Vernon trouble.
Puck actually was by Vernon by the time he got his glove up. I mean, he really blistered a heavy slap shot. Now John Tonelli will leave it. Back up into St. Louis territory, and Brian Benning takes a heavy check from Lanny McDonald. McDonald still dishing out the checks like it's the first of the month in the game, no matter what it is, no matter what the score is. Bourgeois around to the left wing, but he can't clear, and Benny will try. But Benny's a fine skating defenseman. That's off the stick of Sheehy. Got the stick up high, and they're going to call it here. High stick. All right, here at the Saddledome. The score, the Flames 6 and the Blues 2.
For over 30 years, I was a blade shaver. Then I tried the Remington microscreen and fell in love. That's why I bought the company. The Remington microscreen shaved me as close as a blade and fast. Remington has 2 thin, flexible screens. The first shaves incredibly close, the second even closer. And the Remington microscreen rechargeable never needs a cord because this convenient charger stand keeps it continually charged. And the Lady Remington rechargeable, the perfect gift, shaves without a cord.
Look at the St. Louis Blues bench, and they'll be going home to the St. Louis Arena, where there's been pandemonium there in the playoffs. Boy, that building is one of the great ones in the league.
Yeah, and everybody has talked about the celebration that went on in Calgary. Well, it might not have been as raucous in St. Louis, but a lot of eyebrows were raised, and there's an awful lot of interest in what the St. Louis Blues are doing right now.
Back it goes to Giolano, and his shot was stopped before it got to the net. Joey Mullen. Mullen turns, whistles one on, Millen the save. He just got the blocking glove up to make the save on Joe Mullen. 12 and a half minutes to go here in this third period, and it's still 6-2 Calgary.
You know, Mike, following the Calgary-Edmonton series, it was the first time in years that some Calgarians could really dig back at a lot of the Edmontonians, who are always champions, and found an ad in the want ads, actually in the obituaries. It's a notice in the Edmonton paper, and it reads, Oilers Edmonton, aged 2 years, after a short illness brought on by lack of work and intense heat, passed away in their sleep in Edmonton on April 30th, 1986. Dynasty, as they became known, is survived by many fans, Peter Pocklington, Mr. Glenn Sather, and an assortment of recycled players. Interment took place at the Coliseum on the day of the passing. In lieu of flowers, donations may be made to the Wayne Gretzky Home for Chronic Whiners. Arrangements by the Calgary Flames. Signed a Calgary Flames fan. That's quite a dig back at the Oilers, isn't it?
And the offside call. By the way, tomorrow night, the Rangers at home against Montreal in Game 3 of that series in the Wales Conference. And our own Ken Wilson, along with Mickey Redmond and Jim Hewson, will travel back. We'll be there. Mickey's probably sitting there in New York, just relaxing now, enjoying the game.
Yeah. I wouldn't know what that's like, that relaxing stuff. Of course, not many of us do. We've been doing so many hockey games here on ESPN, but I'll tell you, the hockey's been so interesting, and the people are so friendly in the different cities that it's really been a treat to be this busy and get a chance to cover hockey.
Well, the Flames with a hat trick tonight from Doug Risebrough. He has now 6 goals in the, or 5 in the playoffs. And the others by Joey Mullen, Lanny McDonald, and Colin Patterson. Gilmore and Ramage have scored for the St. Louis Blues.
And Mike, I'm wondering at this stage of the game if Jacques Demers is having any second thoughts about sitting out Greg Puslowski. He was tied for the lead in goals in Stanley Cup playoffs. So Wayne Gretzky has 8 goals, as did Puslowski. One other player did. And he chose to sit Greg Puslowski out and dress Dave Bard tonight for some reason, thinking that he needed size. Well, they're getting outscored 6-2, so I would think that by next game, when they get back to St. Louis, Puslowski is a sure bet to be back in the lineup.
Bozic will chase it down. McMillan will beat him to the puck. The St. Louis goaltender picked off by Mike Eaves. Bozic behind the net. You could hear somebody yelling Bozy. Bozy has the puck again. And again, the Flames continuing to put pressure on the Blues in their own end. Hard to jam up with Mike Eaves. Just hard, tireless forechecking by the Flames.
Well, I got to tell you, Mike Eaves does not look as if he has missed a game this year, and this is his first game in a year.
Try and headband the puck. It was a delayed offside. Worked out by the Flames. Otto is decked, but it comes to Perry Barrison. Barrison coming down the left wing, goes behind the net. He has room. He'll go to Baxter. Snap one to the goal. That's blocked in front. Loose puck, Petlinski. And he's trying to make the perfect pass to Otto. McCallum shoots one out, and he let it go, and it missed. Now Baxter back to the net. Baxter has had a bad wrist for a few years, and he doesn't get too much behind the shot. He's in the slot now, but a penalty coming up here. A penalty coming up, a holding call. And at the Olympic Saddledome, the score, Calgary 6 and St. Louis 2.
Give me a light. No, Bud Light.
If you just ask for a light beer,
Thanks.
you never know what you'll get.
Nah, give me a light. No, Bud Light.
So if you want the less filling light beer with the first name and taste, don't just ask for a light beer.
Give me a light.
Ask them to bring out their best.
Bud Light.
Bud Light. Because everything else is just a light.
Dave Barr of the St. Louis Blues, a 2-minute minor penalty for holding. And the time at 8:56. And another power play chance here for the Calgary Flames. They have 2 power play goals tonight. And Steve Bozic out with Lanny McDonald and John Tonelli. An interesting setup here they have with McGinnis and Reinhart to work the points. Bozic basically a winger. Playing at center here. And it comes to McGinnis. Donald sort of got caught for interference there, knocking down Rob Ramage as he bumped him. Buck Turner off the boards. The Flames used to play right across the street in the Stampede Corral, which used to seat about 7,600. With the big high boards, you played in that building, Bill Clement.
Yeah.
Whole new atmosphere here.
Well, jokingly, I've been telling people here in Calgary, they say, well, how do you like the Saddle Dome? I say, I don't find it much different than the Corral, just the ceiling's a little higher in here. Well, that's hardly the truth. This is a gorgeous building, one of the most modern of its type in North America. It can do all kinds of things. Seats can move back and forth on hydraulics, and the rink size can change just with the push of some buttons. So really is a pretty building, and it's going to be a wonderful facility for the Olympics here in '88.
And they have close to 16,800 they sell out every night. They have a lot of seats they're going to be able to put in up above here towards the upper far side and the other side of the press box.
Right.
So they'll have more additional seating for the Olympics. And of course, that's become one of the major things in the Winter Olympics. The ice hockey. The puck shoot in. Did it go in or not? Hit the post.
Right between his legs, off the post.
Mullen got it between Millen's legs, and it hit the post. And we've got an injured player, Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn of the Calgary Flames being checked on by linesman John D'Amico. He looks as though he's upset that somebody clipped him with a stick, maybe.
Well, he's sure been welcome back, hasn't he? You see some blood running down his face. He'll obviously go off for a couple of short pieces of thread to the eye. Here's Joey Mullen's deflection. Watch it go right between Greg Milne's legs. Didn't it? Right between his legs, I believe it went. And then off the inside of the left post.
Well, I know Joey Mullen thought he had himself a goal. He started to raise the stick, it appeared. And I even thought it might have gone in. See, bang. Whoa, that's Big Ben striking one there.
Mike, let me tell you one of the differences between the two coaching philosophies of Demers and Bob Johnson. Bob Johnson uses tons of films. They study films. Jacques Demers doesn't do that very often. And I'm not a real big believer in myself in studying films of other teams, but one thing that Bob Johnson did is put together a montage of his players trying to beat the blue wall of St. Louis Blues at the blue line as they did in Game 1. And he showed them their mistakes. Rather than concentrate on what St. Louis did, they put together a film of everything that the Calgary Flames did incorrectly. They really did respond to that film, and it's one of the reasons why they're up 6-2 right now.
And now Bozic and Herb Ragland, who were whacking the sticks at one another earlier, start to get involved. Joel Otto comes over. Jim Pavie steps in to grab him. Well, temper's heating up. You know, I know that when Teddy Green used to be the assistant coach and coach the defenseman of the Edmonton Oilers, when they would go through a bad streak, he wouldn't single out the mistakes and go through things like that. He would bring out films or videotapes of when they played well. And he would say, this is how we've done it. We were able to do it. You're going to see the rookie Herb Ragland going in.
Well, I agree with that, too. And there's a difference between showing one of your players getting beat on a one-on-one situation defensively. I don't think that would boost his confidence at all. But when you show them how it works, they actually showed, they told me this morning, they showed Jim Poplinski a shot of him coming to the blue line, not dumping it in, then turning around and doing it again.
Well, we'll have more penalties dished out here, and we'll take a pause. The Flames 6 and the Blues 2.
Hey, I hope you're eating potato chips, because I got to show you something. These Delta Gold brand potato chips are so fine you can even see how good they taste. Check this out. Get out one of the chips you're eating and bring it up here. Now, I'll take out one of my chips, and you put your chip next to mine. You see how golden and light-colored these Delta Gold chips are? Well, that's exactly how they taste. Delta Gold chips absolutely sparkle with flavor, and the final proof is you take one out, you pop it into your mouth, and the bing! You are golden.
New Delta Gold brand. You can see how good they taste.
At 10:03 of period number 3, here are your penalties. Herb Ragland picks up 2 minutes for high sticking, and Rick Natras gets a 10-minute misconduct penalty. So the Flames will have a 2-man advantage for 53 seconds. Dave Barr still in the penalty box for holding.
And Jacques Demers has to be saying to himself, let's get this thing over with. 9 minutes and 57 seconds to go. Down by 4 goals. Of course, you always hope that you can come back, but they haven't, you know, with the firepower that St. Louis has and with the way the Flames are going tonight, I'm sure at this stage, Jacques Demers just doesn't want to develop too many bad habits for Game 3. You can see the sea of red trying to give the world their version of the wave. A little choppy at times.
Well, you shouldn't be totally surprised that the Flames have scored 6 of the Blues 2. A lot of games they had this year at home, they really dominated. They scored a lot of goals in games. And 7-2 was not an uncommon score, or 8-2. I mean, it just happened that way. Reinhart blasting, Millen the save. The rebound and cleared by Mahar. The 2-man advantage belonging to the Calgary Flames. McGinnis back with 25 seconds now in the Barr penalty. That's the one that has put them 2 men short. McGinnis will be the first man back on to cut it to 1. Mullen to Reinhart. To McGinnis. Doesn't shoot it. Quinn, the slot to Otto. Oh, he pulled the trigger, but he missed. Gilmore gives him a cross check. Reinhart's in deep. He waits. Can't find the target. McGinnis back to Reinhart. Here it comes again. Now he goes to Quinn. Shoots and scores!
Well, the little guy that didn't play Game 1 of this series, 1 times this one in. What a great offensive player he is, and you have to look now at the move that Bob Johnson made in putting him in, but look at that pass from Paul Reinhart. He had everybody glued to the fact that he was winding up for a shot, changed in midstream, passed right on the tape of Danny Quinn. Danny Quinn doesn't even stop the puck, bangs it home, right inside the post. Greg Mill made a pretty good effort, Mike Lang, to try to get over there doing the splits, but just a great offensive show of ability by that young man, Danny Quinn, the youngest Flame at 20 years old. He must just have had a butterfly put on that cut. I mentioned when he was cut in the face only moments ago that he was probably going in for stitches. He probably said to the trainer, never mind the stitches, just give me a little butterfly Band-Aid, we call him, and put it over the cut, and I'll get some after the game. He's really had an outstanding game along with Mike Eaves. Two additions that are really seen to make a difference here for the Flames tonight, Mike.
The goal by Quinn at 10:58. Barr had just come back on, so his penalty expired. He scored 2 seconds after his penalty expired. It goes against Ragland, so they're back at equal strength.
And let me tell you who helped out on that play and who really paid the price body-wise was Big Joel Otto in front of the net. He took a slash in the hand from Doug Gilmore, shook that off. He was actually shaking his hands, was speared in the back of the legs by Natras, and then after that was cross-checked by Big Charlie Bourgeois. One after the other, they all took pokes at the big guy in front of the net, and he just stood his ground like a giant oak tree, and Danny Quinn, because Joel Otto was attracting so much attention in front of the net, was able to stay loose to the side.
Well, Quinn is third in the playoffs and the 3rd power play goal. That's been a difference in the game tonight, too. Right point Ramage of St. Louis. And his shot never got to the gate. Taken out by Risebrow with 3 already. He wheels his way in. Looking for Tonelli as the trailer, and he overskates. Lee Norwood. And the pass offside as Ragland now will get some extra ice time here with the game at 7-2 with 8:22 to go. And the shot's 35-20 with the Flames in command of that.
And while that man Herb Ragland will probably get ice, as Mike mentioned, from now to the end of the game, I would think that Bob Johnson might want to examine closely how much he wants to use Lanny McDonald and Doug Risebrough and John Tonelli. We mentioned that these are the elder statesmen of this team. Only got 48 hours until the next game. Everybody traveling to St. Louis on the travel day tomorrow, and with a 7-2 lead, there goes Risebrough off the ice now as we're sitting up here trying to play coach. Somebody down there is listening and saying, let's give the older guys a rest. So it's now Eves, Hawk and Lube, and Bozak on the ice.
Dave Barr with Mark Hunter and Eddie Beers. On for the Blues. Al McGinnis relays it to Hawk and Lube, and he trying to go cross ice to Mike Eves. Back on the Blues. Beers to Mark Hunter. Guinness takes a bump from Dave Barr. We're at 7:50 to go in the third period. 7-2 Calgary, right on the net. On the backhander by Barr, stopped easily by Vernon. And he really hasn't had to do too much work tonight. Bozak on the left wing, pulled down by Bergeron. Play will go on. Mark Hunter cleans up his own end. And the talented forward for the Blues swings it back into the Calgary corner. Flames overskated it, but Sheehy's there. As the Blues were in a line change, they couldn't get anybody in. Sheehy to Bozak. Bozak cuts in. Millen went down on the play. And they jam it up in behind the net. Now the jam up behind Greg Millen. And here in Calgary, the Flames 7 and the Blues 2.
Introducing the G-Shock 5200 watch from Casio. The sports watch that's ready for action with a built-in shock absorber. It's tough, so tough, this G-Shock can take a slap in the face and not even flinch. The G-Shock 5200, just one of Casio's water-resistant sports watches. It's one tough watch to beat.
Did you buy a car from that man?
I don't think so, to be honest with you. And don't let the concerned look on John Tonelli's face fool you. They're massaging a 7-2 lead over the St. Louis Blues right now, and he's just an intense man at all times when he's in uniform.
I'd buy a car from him. You know, he's pretty heavily involved in the stock market. He really enjoys that. A lot of investments, and has worked. I've learned a lot of it in New York.
You can't tell me that if you didn't know that man was John Tonelli, that you would buy a used car from him with his black beard like that, would you?
Dan Quinn. And he looks for Perry Berezan. On his backside, gets up and flips it up into the St. Louis end. Greg Millen, who replaced Rick Wamsley at the 125 mark of period number 2. Flames have scored 4 on Wamsley, and they've tagged Millen with 3 here into the third period. Norwood chasing. Back to Jim Pavese. Now it seems we've taken both clubs apart, and of course the Flames appear to be comfortably on their way to a victory here tonight. Now you got to look ahead to game 3 at St. Louis. And what type of game you might expect in that? We've got a high stick on the puck between these two clubs.
Well, you would certainly want to do a little reconstruction if you were the St. Louis Blues. One thing that I've noticed tonight is that both Gino Cavallini and Eddie Beers have played sparingly, and you would think that those two men, along with the man on your screen, Kevin LaValle, they are all ex-Calgary Flames, and if there's ever a motivation for a player, it can very often come from the fact that you're playing against your old teammates, and you really do want to show them that that they made a mistake, you know, and that they shouldn't have traded you. Well, Doc Demers has hardly used Gino Cavallini and Eddie Beers tonight for some reason.
McGinnis back, bumped by Dave Barr, and Jim Peplinski winds it around the horn for Joey Mullen. Collision with Mullen going down. Mullen has the ability to get up so quickly. Well, he's knocked down.
That's because he doesn't have far to go when he gets up. It's different when Joel Otto or Charlie Bourgeois at 6'4" get up, but little Joey Mullen's only about 5'7". I don't care that it says 5'9" in the book, Mike Lang.
Well, he went to Boston College. He was signed as a free agent. And, of course, we mentioned earlier he's out of New York. Got a brother that plays hockey, too.
Sure does. A good one.
Jets. Brian Mullen. Flames by 5 here with 5:51 left. And they apparently will even the series against the Blues. Well, that means they'll be coming back here to Calgary for a 5th game. Terry Johnson. The late offside coming up here, but it's waved off as Sheehy skates it out. Look at it right to Charlie Bourgeois. You know, with so many players having played on the other team during the course of the year, maybe your thoughts, Bill Clement. I don't know if you're involved in a big trade like that. What it's like to play against people you really haven't fondness for. Here's Risebrough, though. Go to Tonelli, and his shot, that was off a stick. And controlled now by Eddie Beer. Passes will just not connect for the Blues tonight. It's not been their evening. And here's a shot by McGinnis. Oh, powerful shot of Millen. Just getting down to make the save. Jim Pavis. Another New York native. Watches Wickenheiser carry the mail. Delivers a puck in around the net. Vernon. Been very sound tonight in goal for the Flames. Berezan. Out of danger. 4.5 to go. 3rd period. Calgary leading 7-2. Ryan Benning relaying the puck to Campbellini. He and Patterson bumping one another, and the puck sails into Calgary real estate. The lead pass for Quinn, who pulled up on the play. Just let it go off his stick, and Bourgeois gives it away to Al McGinnis. And they're just ticking the clock off right now. 4 minutes. And Bourgeois. It was directed in. The Blues are going to a line change here. Mark Penner gets on, but the pass ahead to Bozek. Bozek with Pavisby, cuts inside. Nice move, goes to Piflinski, bounds out of the net. Look out, he's got a man in front, but he can't get it to him. It's knocked away from the cage by Dave Barr. Now Millen gambled on that play. Almost cost him, and now his play is called back on a 2-line pass.
If memory serves, you were asking me something about a trade.
Yes, I was. I was just wondering, you know, all the players involved. Eddie Beers, Gino Cavallini. You've got Joey Mullen, Terry Johnson. What the feeling would be like to have to go into a playoff series. I mean, the regular season would be a little different and have to play against these guys. I know you're pride and you want to win the series, but there is probably a little, I don't know. I'm not trying to say uneasiness, but it's
absolutely right. It's different. Yeah. It is different, and that's where the professionalism has to show through. You have to be able to concentrate the way you would against any regular team, no matter who it was. And I'll tell you something. It's a lot tougher getting traded during the season than it is in the off-season because you virtually have no time emotionally to prepare for what's ahead of you. So a lot of things hit you in midstream, and all of a sudden you find yourself in the playoffs against a team, and something is at stake. Unlike if you were traded in the off-season, you could get the butterflies out of the way and learn how to concentrate against your old teammates in a game that doesn't mean quite as much. So it is difficult. You really have to concentrate and hope that your professional abilities come through.
Terry Johnson returning. This is icing called against the Blues.
You know, when you asked me that question originally, you said, Bill, I don't know if you've been involved in any big trades like this. Every trade I was involved in was a big one. From where I was looking at it, it was always big when it meant that I was moving from someplace to another. To the hockey world, they might not have been earth-shaking. I was traded away from the Flyers 7 years after I was a member of a Cup champion there, so that was the biggest move for me. And I went from the best to the worst, too. I went from the Philadelphia Flyers to the Washington Capitals, who at that time had just set records for futility in the NHL. So even though I was traded in the offseason, believe me when I tell you, that was a big adjustment to make.
Millen, number 29, the goaltender for the Blues. Hunter unable to clear. We approach the 3-minute mark. Time left here in the game. And the Calgary Flames lead 7-2. Colin Patterson with the puck. Right up in November. Sheehy, what was he doing in that far? The 7-2 game.
That's why it's
the Edmonton Oilers.
It's 7-2. He thinks I want. Well, I said, what the heck? Everybody else is getting some points. Let me get one.
Dan Quinn just banks it off the sideboards and back to the neutral zone. Lee Norwood going to Eddie Beer. That's on the meshing right behind Mike Vernon. Play is whistled down. Get the face-off outside of the Calgary line. Well, look at the youngster, Mike Vernon. He'll win of the game here tonight. Very impressive.
Very impressive, Mike. Very cool, as we mentioned earlier. Really doesn't get rattled under pressure, and that's the kind of guy, you know, when you have a kid back in there. Patrick Roy is the same. John Van Beesburg's only 22, playing in New York, although he's had 4 years in the NHL. When your goalie doesn't get rattled back there, when he's very cool under pressure, you'd be surprised at how many players that rubs off on and actually stabilizes. When you know you can count on him not to buckle under the heat, it really makes you feel stronger out there a lot of times.
Yeah, Greg Millen and Rick Wamsley, the two old men of the crew, really, as far as goaltending with the final 4 left. Here's Wickenheiser. He shoots one, and Berta made a big save there. Wickenheiser with a heavy shot. Joey Mullen trying to move in, and Brian Benning stands him up nicely. Back comes Charlie Bourgeois. Offside. The right wing, Ragland, the rookie, ahead of the right wing. Jam up in front of the net.
You know, Mike, it might be worthwhile pointing out to some people watching this game that are not aware of where these teams stood during the season, to point out that St. Louis only finished 6 points behind Calgary. So in spite of the fact that this game tonight is at a 7-2 score in favor of Calgary, let's not forget the Blues won game number 1, and they are going home for a 2-game set. And they are a better team than they would like everybody to believe. One of their greatest weapons, and they use it so well, is that they always come in as self-proclaimed underdogs. Jacques Demers has them telling everybody on television, when they're interviewed in the newspapers, listen, we are just a bunch of ragtag guys from St. Louis that nobody cares about. We're not very good. We don't have much depth. We're a poor organization. We don't have this. We don't have that. And when the puck is dropped, after they have lulled you into that sense of overconfidence, they strike. And before you know it, you've seen them do this too along the trail this year. Before you know it, they've walked out of your building with 2 points.
Well, the tempers come alive now. It all started with Herb Ragland and John Tonelli. Some gloves come off. Now Ragland is going to be pulled to the ice, but he is on top of one of the Flames.
Well, the big 18-year-old getting his chance, and if there's one St. Louis Blue that has impressed me tonight with his intensity, boy, now they're all pairing off and wanting to go at it. Terry Johnson of the Flames, who was an ex-St. Louis Blue, one of the guys that came over in that Joey Mullen trade this year, started it all. Risebrow and Wickenheiser, ex-teammates, going at it now. Well, they're all paired off. There's Wickenheiser and Risebrow, and neither has dropped their gloves yet. Well, Wickenheiser has. I'm not sure how long I would put up with that. This is a lot
Lanny
of
McDonald
stake
has
here.
come over trying to get Ragland off the top of John Tonelli.
I was just saying, Mike, one guy for St. Louis that has played with consistent intensity and a lot of body contact tonight is young Herb Ragland. He's only 18 years old, but make no mistake about his size out there, folks. He is 205, 206 pounds, and he is a solid kid. And he hasn't taken a backward step from any of these Flames tonight.
Brian Benning and Lanny McDonald now.
There's the young and the old right there. Benning at 19 years of age and Lanny at 33. So these kids are finding out what it's like to be in the middle of a fracas in the Stanley Cup playoffs and doing pretty well, I might add.
Risebrow now keeping things going here. Lanny McDonald still involved.
Well, John Tonelli will be able to tell us what Herb Ragland looks like from underneath looking up at him anyway. He was on the bottom of that pile for more than a couple of minutes.
Now Ragland's going to go to the locker room and he'll get the hot water.
Well, I would suspect that Tonelli might be headed to the locker room. We got 2 minutes and 25 seconds here to go on the game. I didn't see John Tonelli throw many punches, Mike Lang, so he might just end up with 2 minutes. And that, well, no, now he's out of the box. Heading over to the bench.
They put Bourgeois in the penalty box. For the St. Louis Blues. You look at the Flames bench. Well, they got to be a much happier crew tonight. Bourgeois is headed off, and he's going to take a spot next to Ragland.
Charlie Bourgeois is being booed by the Calgary fans. Now, he's the same man that was cheered when the players were introduced onto the spotlight the other night, but when the game got underway, I I venture to guess that before this series was really very old, that Charlie Bourgeois would incur the wrath of these fans, knowing the way he plays an aggressive style, and he likes to stand in there and be a good team man and mix it up when he has to. And I figured sooner or later that he would have these fans as enemies, at least for the time being. Well, he's accomplished that in fine fashion in less than 2 games.
So now referee Kerry Fraser will sort things out and give us some idea of what penalties will be issued.
I wonder if he's massaging his back. We mentioned earlier in the game that Kerry Fraser was suffering from strained back muscles. Doesn't seem to show too many ill effects, although we haven't been watching him too closely, trying to watch the play. But when somebody like a referee is hurting, the one way to tell is that they lag behind the play, and that's when it's up to an official to decide, watching the game, whether he should continue or be replaced.
Well, let's see if we can find our partner tonight, Jim Hewson.
All right, Mike standing by to tell you and our viewers about what's coming up on ESPN hockey-wise. Of course, we'll take you right through the road to the Cup until the Stanley Cup is presented. Tomorrow night, it's Game 3 in the New York-Montreal series. Both Game 2s are wipeouts for the home side, and it'll be interesting to see how the fans react and the Rangers react. Tomorrow night at home against the Canadiens, 7:30 Eastern Time on ESPN, and we'll be around on Wednesday for Game 4 in that series. And on Thursday, Calgary and St. Louis will play, and we'll be there for that Game 4 in this series. A couple of notes from this period. Doug Risebrough's hat trick is his first in the playoffs. He has some regular season hat tricks, 3 to be exact. And Håkan Loob hasn't played since Doug Gilmour scored early in the 3rd period. Knocked down in the corner and hit his head on the ice and hasn't been back.
Good work, Jim.
Well, we go back to play. They've given Bourgeois a 2-minute minor, so the Flames come up here on a power play. The tail end of the game. From the near corner, Dan Quinn. Around to the right point for Al McGinnis. McGinnis fires wide. No one saw that one all the way. Made the stick save, and it comes off, but not out. McCowan. Berezan put in the slot. Work out to McGinnis. That big heavy shot again. He scores. Power play goal. The Flames are up 8-2.
You had to figure, Mike Lane, that it was only a matter of time. And he waited till 1 minute and 45 seconds to go in the game. But the way Al McGinnis has been firing this puck tonight, I had to think that it was only a matter of time before he hit. And he drills this one flat on the ice just inside the far post of Greg Milne. What a bullet from Al McGinnis. That makes it 8-2. He's also picked up a couple of assists tonight. And boy, he's really turned it around. What a difference he has made. He was one of the guys victimized by a couple of smooth St. Louis Blues moves in Game 1, but he's really redeemed himself here tonight.
McGinnis is 3rd. Getting his 3rd of the playoffs. 8-2 Calgary. And the Blues will just have to write this one off and go home for Game 3. Neil Sheehy back with possession of it. He's bumped on the play. The puck's still loose, and Jim Peplinski, now Sheehy involved with one of the Blues. And the linesmen quickly step in. They just don't want to see things get out of hand here this late in the game with the score as it is, and they've got every reason in the world to expect the players to show a little control themselves, too. All right, our Hartford Insurance Player of the Game tonight. Wasn't too hard to figure, Bill Clement.
It was not a coin toss as it's been in the past. Doug Risebrough, with his hat-trick performance for the Flames, is easily our Hartford Insurance Player of the Game. I'd like to thank Doug Risebrough personally for making it easy, the selection, because I'll tell you, in a lot of games, it's been very, very difficult. There have been some wonderful efforts, but tonight, Doug Risebrough, the elder statesman, or at least one of the elder statesmen, we featured in between periods, has won 4 Stanley Cups, and boy, he would like nothing better than to do it one last time, at least one last time. What a great effort tonight with 3 goals and an assist. Hartford Insurance Player of the Game, Doug Risebrough.
The Flames tonight with 4 power play goals. Now they'll be shorthanded because Neil Sheehy will step into the box.
Number 5, Neil Sheehy, 2 minutes for roughing. The time 18:44.
Roughing the call against Sheehy. The Blues have the power play. Boy, that'll make your stats move up in a hurry on the power play. Big night like this. And from center ice with 1 minute and 10 seconds to go now in the game. Doug Gilmour in for the Blues, looking for Brian Sutter. Can't get it to him. Perry Beresand finds the opening. Millen comes way out of the net. Pass it ahead to Bernie Federko. Millen very active with that stick. Federko looks for Gilmour. Left side to Brian Benny. And he shoots one that missed. Third again. Gilmour going back. 36 seconds to go here in the game. And Jamie McCowan drives it right back to the St. Louis goal. And the Flames fans are enjoying this one. Now the Blues will get a split out of here and go home. McCowan, of course, the Blues losing. The Flames in a 3-0 lead. The hat trick tonight by Doug Risebrough. They led 5-1, and now it's 8-2 here in the third. We're down to 9 seconds to go. Benning shoots it in. McGinnis around, and that is it. So the Calgary Flames have won this game. The final score, they even the series with the St. Louis Blues. The Flames 8. And the St. Louis Blues 2.
What a difference 2 days makes. The Calgary Flames flat on Friday, come out scoring tonight. Doug Risebrough gets 3, and the Flames even the series, defeating the St. Louis Blues 8-2. The Blues really tossed a no-hitter tonight and can't play that way in the playoffs. They looked like they were happy with a split before this game got underway. Tomorrow night, we'll bring you the Montreal Canadiens and the New York Rangers in Game 3 of the Wales Conference Championship Series, 7:30 Eastern Time. The final tonight, 8-2 Calgary. Thanks for joining us from Calgary.
Who won and how did they do it? ESPN SportsCenter has a whole lot more than just the scores with exclusive highlights and features coming up next.